Hey, welcome to Talking Small Press Comics, episode 72, with Steve Keeter and me, Larned Justin. Well, it's been a while since we did a show. Just life seems to get in the way of art for some reason.
Yeah, buddy. Sure does.
It's been a while, but we got quite a few comics to do today. So
yeah,
if you're ready,
received a lot of stuff.
I'll let you pick the first one.
Yeah, I hope the sound is good here. I'm hearing a little bit of a tinny sound, but we're using.
I would say just a little muffled on your end, but not bad. Not bad.
Okay.
Okay. All right, find me a comic. I'm sure I have one.
There's got to be a comic around here somewhere. How about this one from Nick Dirga?
Oh yeah. Okay.
Amoeba Adventures.
Amoeba Adventures.
Yeah. Mick Dirga. And we see a Ram Bunny here, Ninja Ant, and Prometheus. The protoplasmic picture. That's why it's called Amoeba Adventures, I guess.
3 days in Spongeopolis. Yeah.
So it's got 3 stories in it.
It's got 3 stories, yeah. And Nick is an excellent cartoonist. A little sample of his work. Right there.
Absolutely. I've been following Nick for many years. You know, he was in the UFO years ago, but for decades, and he just keeps putting out great stuff. He's better than ever. Look at this page.
Yeah, very cool.
The Amoebax. Dastardly villain. Amoebas somehow becomes heroes and villains throughout this. Yeah. Where's that? I love this guy. This guy right here. Bart Plasm.
Yeah, Bart Plasm.
He makes amoebas into all kinds of
stuff happens. You can see from the artwork there that this there's a lot of stuff going on in this story.
Yeah,
all kinds of stuff.
Just crazy stuff. He has the right over here. Where is it? Right here. Follow my finger. Where's my finger? Okay, that's the Plasmic 4.
Yeah.
The Plasmic 4. With this guy looks like this little protoplasm here looks like Spider-Man in the front. But he's doing this great. This is really a great issue.
Yeah.
All of this stuff is great.
Just one page parallel lines, which is a separate little deal. He throws that in there. And that's only one page. That's all, one page, boom. Parallel lines. So that's
the parallel lines. You're looking at that.
What's cool is it goes to completely another story by
I think it's by Nick, but
no, it's by what did I say here?
I think Nick wrote it, didn't he?
He wrote it, but it's illustrated by
Tony Lorenz and Tom A. Hearn. And that's the thing.
It's Tony
Lorenz.
Yeah.
And just before we went on air here, and I read these comics yesterday, and I was looking back through those before the show because I wanted to be ready. And I'm looking at this artwork, and I'm going, man, this is great. This is incredible. It looks so realistic, and the perspective shots and everything. But I didn't realize it was Tony. Yeah. I've known Tony for a long time. He's drawn my characters over the years, the Cosmic Man, etc.,
He's drawn all kinds of characters. Everybody.
Yeah, and he's done a lot of work for a lot of people. And and without knowing that it was Tony, the only reason I didn't know it was Tony is because Tom A. Hearn inked it, and he put his own spin on it. The textures and the dark inking and everything that he does. The screens.
Tom A. Hearn did do, I guess, the pencils. Is that what he said? Pencils?
No, he did the inks. It was
the inks. Okay, he did the inks.
Tony did the pencils, and Tom did the inks.
Tom did the
And this is an outstanding issue. This is an outstanding story and an outstanding issue. I was really taken by this.
After that one, it goes back to Nick again.
Yeah, but I had to go. But I just want to say I had to go back and look because I didn't realize it was Tony and Tom. When I did, I'm like, of course, that's why it's so great. You know, that's why it's such a great story. Yeah, it goes back to Nick.
Yeah,
and he has a character, and this one is pretty funny. Critical Mass featuring a Ninja Ant.
Interesting. He puts the titles at the end of the stories. You notice that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He puts the titles. Yeah, Critical Mass is at the end of the story. But this features a Ninja Ant, and it's it starts out so innocently in Spongeopolis, of course, Spongeopolis. He's with his girlfriend, and they're going to see a movie. Everything's easy. I think the movie has something to do with potatoes, like the potato or something. I read it, like I say, yesterday. The Last Potato, a very heavy title for a heavy-duty story. The Last Potato. This is going to be something of great meaning, great import, and moving, and and then his girlfriend asks him to go to the concession stand for a lemonade.
Yeah.
So he does, and he comes across this guy here.
That guy, yeah.
Apparently a disgruntled ex-employee.
You got the comic in front of the mic.
Aha! So the mic, that's what I'm thinking. The mic is here. It shouldn't muffle it, but maybe it does. I don't know.
It does.
Yeah, we're always having slight problems. But
that guy.
Who is this guy?
Yeah.
The Keyboard Warrior. He is the Keyboard Warrior.
Okay.
Yeah. And Ninja Ant approaches him, and he instantly, like Spider-Man shoots webs, but this guy shoots stale popcorn, and
there's nothing worse. When you get
nothing
hit
worse
with
than
stale popcorn, it's pretty much over.
Yeah. So that really puts a Ninja Ant down for a while. Stale popcorn. I believe it's stale buttered popcorn too. I think I saw that somewhere. That
stale buttered popcorn sticks right to you.
That's so we got a wonderful.
Right here has a page there. Slimeball Speaks. So
that would be Nick himself. That's his editor. He describes the characters, the cast. Yeah, is that a picture of Nick?
And he talks a little bit about Jason DeGroot's Jam comic that Jason does.
The
Sunday Jam.
The Sunday Jam.
Talks a little bit about that in here, and I guess he's contributed to that. So
he did. In fact, his contribution, his page followed my page. Remember?
Oh, there you go.
I did the page with the demonic grannies of retribution, and Nick came along the very next page and kind of annihilated my entire story and started it all over. But that's okay.
When you do a Jam comic, you come up with a character, and next guy wipes it out.
I don't mind at all being followed by Nick Dirga.
Right.
It would be harder for me to follow him than for him to follow me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's so good.
There's a little homage to Woody Allen that he did.
Yeah.
With apologies to Woody Allen. I don't want to read it all because that would ruin it for you.
It's a really corny joke story. And who was it that we just reviewed? I think it's in the UFO. I don't think we reviewed it, but somebody else did a comic, a joke comic.
Oh, jokes! That was
it was
Strange Times, right? Strange Times.
It was Tom Felrath.
Tom Felrath, Strange Times.
Yeah.
Everybody's favorite joke.
Yeah. So there's a page in there that follows this one from Nick Dirga. There's a page from Nick Dirga.
See where the amoeba adventures began.
Yeah, and he has, well, we got comments from Tony Isabella, Tim Corrigan, Michael Haig, describing how has been such a great. This was back in the 90s. Some of these comments are from the 90s or whatever, but he has a big anthology, The Best of Amoeba Adventures, advertised there. I would recommend that. Totally, definitely. Work by Sergio Aragonis, Stan Sakai, Dave Sim, Matt Fizel, and of course Nick himself. So yeah, that would definitely be worth ordering. That's on the back cover here.
Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway, great comic. I'll have all the contact information below because he is out of the United States, so you will have to consider that when you buy the comic.
Yeah.
All right. Next.
By the way, I will be out of the United States next month. I'm just saying. I'll just toss that out.
Yeah, but you're going to the moon, right?
I'm going to the Philippines.
Oh, I had that confused.
I have some friends there, and one particular friend, and so we're gonna try to get in an episode of this show before I go. Which
we want to do one toward the end of August here, and because Steve is going to be gone for quite a bit of September, so
a couple of weeks.
If you have comics that you'd like to send us, send them. Because we do want to do a show, toward the end of August, and you need to send him, Steve, a copy and me a copy. Sorry, that's how it works.
Remember, if you want your stuff seen and reviewed and promoted, every second counts. So send those books now, but really.
We do not critique anybody's work. This is small press. You can
discuss.
do whatever you want. We don't know what's on your mind. How could we critique what you're doing? We can't. But we sure can promote it because it's all a lot of fun and great stuff. So let's do another one.
Yeah, you probably already know my stuff sucks, but Larned always has something nice to say about it. Yeah, and he just did the Space Falcon, and that one does not suck. That's an awesome comic.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would suggest you repeat your ordering information for that one because that one's getting some great reviews from some decent people. So, okay, we're gonna move on.
All right, what do you got?
I got pulp-sized comics.
Yeah, this is very interesting. Let me, I
love that cover.
He sent us 2 comics, so we might as well do 2 in a row. But let's do pulp-sized comics first. And this is from, and he was nice enough. He sent an intro letter. He sent
long letter,
an update letter, which he has some updates to the comic, but they are basically where you get them, where you can order them. So I will include that in the description.
Steve Herrick,
yeah. And I met Steve because I belong to a group called Ink and Drink, a cartoonist group here in St. Louis, and they meet at a microbrewery, which is convenient for the name, Ink and Drink. But when we're not drinking, we are talking about comics.
Working on comics, man.
And I met Steve there, and he gave me these comics, and he sent some to Steve Keeter here. And really nice of them to do that. And they are really interesting comics. Here is pulp-sized comics.
Yeah. And this is cool because it's based on the concept of an old pulp.
It is. The stories are
pulp magazine.
Like pulp fiction.
I got to say something. Did Steve Herrick draw that cover?
No. Steve is a writer.
John King draw it?
King did, I think, yes. I think
because
King did it.
This cover.
Let me see if it says right here.
But John King is a superb artist, and apparently he and Steve are very
John King
close.
really does most of Steve's artwork, and you can see it here.
The thing about this cover is you're looking. I mean, okay, what you're thinking is this is in an old dingy hotel room. Kind of film noir, kind of a little bit of color, but not too much. And you can see in her face, and she's smoking a cigarette. You can see that she's probably in her mid-30s, between 30s and 40s, somewhere in there. Just from, you can see the character in that.
Yeah.
And she's kind of worn out, maybe because she smokes a lot of cigarettes, you know. But she's
but look at the stare she's got. It can go right through you.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much character in that face, in that face. I mean, I was struck right away. Even attitude, with her hand on the hip, leaning there with that cigarette.
Very well done. And it starts out with a boxing story here.
Yeah.
All about boxing. And the fighter, I think he bets on himself, but he really doesn't have the money to do that.
Yeah.
And gets himself in trouble with the mob.
Yeah. So he owes money, and
he owes the mob money.
He loses the fight, and he owes money.
He loses. He bet on himself. He loses, and on top of getting beat up, he owes the mob money, and oh boy, tough.
Yeah, I mean, and it ends up, because he owes them money, he has to do something, and he ends up being a strong arm guy for the mob. It's kind of like in Rocky and Rocky 2.
A little bit.
Stallone's character was trapped in that sort of thing.
But the girl on the cover there, you can see.
And,
the word balloons don't, it's kind of interesting because they're fast, couple of lines in each word balloon, No
nuance style
sentences or anything. They're just quick, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, it's nuance style, nothing complicated.
No.
It's just a dark story about a guy who's gotten in too deep. And
very nice. But look at the production values in this. I mean,
beautiful, yeah.
Yeah. And Steve has plenty of background to be able to do this kind of thing. To write this kind of stuff. Usually a writer will tell the artist how he wants the panel to look. So I'm sure Steve does that.
Right. It would have to for something.
Anything I've done for a writer, they usually kind of tell me what the panel should look like.
Yeah. And it's very dramatic. In the end, he comes face to face with, he's given a job. His apparently the woman he loves is also behind on money, and I won't reveal the ending, but he has to confront a situation where he has to choose between the woman he loves and the mob.
There you go.
Whoa, how heavy is that?
Then he includes I don't know how Steve writes a wordless story, but but Montana Sapphire has no.
Montana Sapphire.
It's
whoa! Look at John King's artwork.
Look at the artwork, though. You know how hard that is to do. Comic without words.
It is. I've said that before. If you want to know the sign of a real writer, if they can do a comic wordless and you can still follow every single panel, that goes for a real artist or a real writer. That's a good story, and that's a well done story. But
that's cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
And she's pretty tough. I don't know what, but she gets like hit by a bullet, and I think she gets stabbed also. But she just comes back. She's a tough cookie.
Yeah. And then the other interesting thing to me is the Piazza. Now, I live in St. Louis, and that is not far from Alton, Illinois. It's just across the bridge. And on the rock face in Alton, Illinois, is this Piazza.
Oh, no kidding.
The Piazza is there.
I didn't know it was based on something real.
It's a bird. It's let me see if there's a representation of
it. It's like this monster bird.
Yeah. He's redrawn it, but it is a monster type bird. And it's just a profile on the rocks there.
Yeah.
But very cool.
Well,
here, if I could show you right there. That's pretty much what it looks like on the rocks. It's a side view like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very menacing. The bat-winged.
Yeah.
It has fur. It has fur. Like I don't know. It's a combination of beasts, big claws, and this is drawn by Ryan Solis or Salas, lettered by Simone Salazar. So these are people we don't know. We haven't heard of these people before, but we're being introduced, and we can see the great talent involved here. And this beast, this winged beast, is kind of a legend. And you know when you hear it, you know when it's coming because you hear that sound.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Speaking of sounds, did you catch that thunder outside my window?
No,
I just heard it, man. You may hear it when you see the video later, but you know, it's Central Florida. It's kind of semi-tropical, so
sometimes,
a lot of times we have thunderstorms in the afternoon, so let's hope that doesn't interfere. Yeah, the back page.
Interesting, yeah.
And that's John King too, isn't it?
I think John King did that, didn't he? I believe.
Probably. I mean, it looks like him.
But nice.
Yeah. So.
Now,
so
Steve
great.
Also, that's not the only one from Steve, because he sent another comic called Art Sheet. Well, it's called. Let me open it because the real name is Art Sheet Beatdown.
It's Dirt Sheet.
Yeah, well,
it's Dirt Sheet.
Dirt Sheet.
I can see it with the way the lettering is in the front. It's kind of difficult to ask, to tell, but it's DIRT.
Yeah, Dirt Sheet. And
so it's Dirt
pro
Sheet.
Wrestling. It is pro wrestling by Frank, and there's Frank Z and Crushmore against each other.
And Crushmore, yep, that's them.
And I want to read what he says about it. Let me just grab this because he said, Steve was great because he said, kind of descriptions of what he's doing here. Well, let me just read it real quick for you. I have to put on my glasses.
Some of the artwork here I'm just going to show you.
Okay, Dirt Sheet is a mixture of professional wrestling, The West Wing, and Mad Magazine. In a world where professional wrestling matches determine international politics. This action-packed satire focuses on the wrestlers hired by political parties and lobbyists to return victorious from the ring. Dirt Sheet is a knockdown, drag-out, tongue-in-cheek, off-the-top rope comic for readers of all ages. There's plenty of wrestling, call-outs, interviews, and promos. This inaugural issue introduces central characters and circumstances of this world. Filled with action, humor, and plenty of stakes, Dirt Sheet will entertain and engage its readers until the final bell. Very cool.
Yep.
It does. It's a lot of it is the action in the ring, with sound effects, thud, boom,
It's done so well. You have the commentator there.
Yeah, you got the announcers
detailing the fight.
Boxes. Yeah.
The announcers
in action. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and the second story in this deals with female wrestlers, a couple of whom apparently aren't from the planet Earth. I mean,
that's what it looks like. They're not really from Earth. They're kind of
not from Earth.
Yeah.
She looks like kind of Wolverine, and and they're fighting.
Tag team. These are tag team matches here.
Like the back cover, she explains what Lorna was just reading. This matchup will determine the new governor of Ohio. Only one thing remains unclear about its outcome. After I defeat you, how far will my boot go up your blah, 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 blah.
And then all of a sudden he introduces a new character in here too. right here, which will probably be in future issues. But it's just an introduction of this wrestler in here.
Yeah, and this is just terrific. This is just a terrific comic in an odd size too. It's not.
Yeah, it's different.
Digest size. It's a little bigger than digest size.
Here are some other wrestlers going to be featured. Rocky Rhodes, Youth Gone Wild.
Youth Gone Wild.
Tag team match there. Fun Time looks like a tag team match with clowns. And Vera Boddick. She might have a robot hand. Look at that.
And some great like pinup type images here of the wrestlers. Really, really awesome.
Here's an ad for some type of tape for wrestlers. It's a real sticky
adhesive tape. I guess for taping on the gloves or something. I don't know. But you see the guy in that picture, he's standing on top of an alligator. He defeated this alligator and he taped his mouth shut. You see?
There you go. Yeah.
Don't mess with this guy, man.
Yeah.
You know, he crushes alligators. Nothing is going to stand in this guy's way.
That's for sure.
Did you get this one, Larned?
No, I did not get that.
It's just an extra.
I know what it is. It's the Ink and Drink Group comic book.
Right, exactly.
And I don't know why I didn't pick one up when I was there, but I didn't.
He sent a copy, but it only has like 2 pages by him. It's by other people who are members of this.
Yeah, that's their publication, Ink and Drink publication. And I still don't know why I didn't get one when I was there. I just didn't pick it up.
He did
they were there for everybody to pick up.
Yeah, he did a short science fiction SF story drawn by Isaac Lee, and looks like this.
Yeah,
it's right there in the middle somewhere. But
there may be some. Those are the nicest guys you'd ever want to meet, and the same with anywhere you go in small press. I mean, these guys didn't know me from the Man in the Moon when I went there, and they acted like they knew me forever.
Yeah,
really nice guys. We had about 30 people at the last meeting, so that was pretty good.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
These guys are really doing it out there.
Okay, moving on from that, and we got more.
Watusi
from
Dale Martin.
Our
pal.
This is from Dale Martin. Watusi the Talking Dog is a Jam comic. Everybody's done it, I think. I think everybody has had to be in one of these Jam comics from Dale Martin.
Now this is a convention jam. I think it's based on stuff that was done like a decade ago. I think most of this was done in 2012, 2013, but it's still cool.
But look, it's number 43.
Yeah.
Watusi the Talking Dog, $2 from Dale Martin. And, you know, it's like any jam. You're going to have Dale starts it out, and then you'll see other people's artwork as the story goes along.
That's a terrific splash panel there. Very detailed.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody, I've contributed to 1 or 2 of Dale's jams over the years. Everybody has. Because you have to. It's like a rite of passage in small press. You have to be in a jam with Dale.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not cool if you don't. Interesting. And you know
I just noticed on the back, Drew Boynton did a little Watusi himself.
So apparently Dale says that Drew Boynton, he drew the dog on the left, and that Drew wrote the dialogue. He did like all 4 panels. He did the dialogue, and he left it up to Dale to finish, to have Watusi responding to the things he said. So it was an unfinished conversation, and Dale had to finish it. So a little challenge.
Yeah,
and of course,
yeah.
And their styles utterly complement each other. They look like it looks like it was just drawn by one person.
Yeah.
So
but
that's pretty cool.
Drawn that dog for a long time too.
Yeah. And between these jams, I noticed that a jam comic started. It's called a Tall Tale. Watusi comic Con, September 21st, 2013. Now, a month later, this is continued, and it's a story about this guy on stilts. Watusi is up in a tree, and there's this guy on stilts down here yelling at him. And of course, various craziness ensues for several pages. And then a month later, this particular Jam comic has a part 2.
Wow.
There's the guy.
Yeah, I didn't notice that, but yeah.
Yeah. So, and we have.
He includes all the comic books he has for sale right here on the back page.
I know. And did you know, I was looking at that last night, and I thought, wow, man, I should send Dale a big fat check and just order everything on the list.
Really?
No, yeah. Really, I was looking at it, I was saying, man, you know, Dale's really put out so much great work over the years, you know.
Yeah.
I would have to go through my collection and see what I have and what I don't have. But nothing terribly expensive here. They're just all great comics, and they go back decades.
Yeah, they're only about $2, so, you know.
Yeah.
Buy a few. So. And get a big kick out of them, that's for sure.
Dale also mentions his website. We have what you see here. You can follow you can also follow my comics online 24/7. Just go to the website, whattoseethewalkingdog.com.
This does say $2 on the front, but it's $1 for postage. So $3 is all it is.
Nice color cover, nice colors on both covers. Yeah, it's pretty. That's nice.
And then Dale, of course, lives in Memphis, Tennessee, and he belongs to the this group, which I have the name over here. In 1 second.
Yeah, I know because I had something else by them over. Oh, here it is.
Yeah,
you got it.
South. So this is the good, the bad, and the sketchy from the Mid-South Cartoonists Association. Bunch of neat artwork from a number of different members of the group, and Dale Martin, of course. Here's Dale Martin's contribution.
The heart of a
heart of the monkey.
Heart of a monkey. Let me find that. Yeah, here it is.
Yeah, that's Dale.
And apparently it's based on an old Swahili fable.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
There was a monkey who lived in a great mayuku tree.
Oh, yeah, there's the tree.
So large.
Yeah.
The tree extended halfway over the ocean.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So apparently this is based on a real fable. It seems the monkey being on this island, a friendly shark comes up to talk with him, and they end up making friends. So he's friends with the shark.
Yeah, you got the mic covered up.
Mic's covered up. Yeah, so much for this. You know, this isn't working like I thought it would. Anyway. There.
Anyway, look at this interesting artist. A little different.
Oh yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah, and that one's kind of different.
That one, I don't know. It looks like kind of it looks like something you put on the wall, and that's like a comic. I couldn't quite understand what was going on in that.
Yeah, I didn't either, but it doesn't matter. I don't understand a lot of things.
Yeah, it looks like a painting. It looks like something you should put on the wall.
I bet that originally is probably in color, you know, and they probably had to put it in black and white for the comic, but I bet that's color. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. So,
but the story. Okay, I wanted to get back to the story real quick. The story about Dale and the shark. Don't ever make friends with a shark. If you're a monkey or if you're whatever, don't make friends with a shark. They become good friends, and but it turns out there's usually a cost for your friendship with a shark.
Yeah.
And the shark is looking. The shark sultan has asked for the monkey's heart.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, so there's a little more than just casual friendship. The monkey has to supply something.
Mm.
So,
Okay.
I thought Dale's story. I hate to say, I'm biased, but
job with the artwork on it.
Oh, there was another story that was really good in here called Nightmare. Who did that?
Oh, I don't know.
It's by Lee Rags. You see this one?
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's like a giant frog.
Nightmare.
But it's more than just a giant.
It's basically The Princess and the Frog by Lee Rags.
Huh.
Huh.
With some really sharp artwork there. A lot of blacks and solids and blacks and whites. A lot of contrast there.
Yeah.
That story is that's probably some of the finest artwork in the entire book here.
Pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, this book is available for $3. This is their number 8th issue.
Number 8.
Available for $3, probably $1. Add $1 for postage, and I'll have their contact information down in the description. And some neat stuff in here. You might want to get that. That's very cool.
This reminds me of Fractured Fairy Tales. These fairy tales.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right here.
Mm-hmm.
From someone, Jim Palmer.
Well, we don't know the folks, but they're good artists.
Yep. Says right. Sleeping Beauty confesses she still requires between 12 and 14 hours of sleep every night to really look her best. Now, I want to show you Sleeping Beauty because this is an actual untouched photo of of Sleeping Beauty, and here she is, right here. Just so you know, folks, that's what Sleeping Beauty actually looks like. But she has to have a lot of sleep to look that gorgeous.
Yeah, I see her.
Snore. Yeah. I don't know. If the prince knew that, he wouldn't have thought it was such a wonderful dream. He might have thought it was kind of a nightmare.
What he was going to do there,
yeah.
Okay, what do you got next?
We're going right down the line. Let's get to Larry Johnson.
Yeah.
And this wonderful
Broken Bee.
Number 5, I believe. Number 5. This wonderful comic.
It cost us $6.50.
Absolute steal because you're getting
the background. He didn't, he took a photo of the woods instead of drawing all those trees and leaves and trees and all that, and just put the two characters right in front of him.
Well, this story is so amazing. It's really, I've been reading Larry's comics for 50 years, and this is one of the finest things he's ever written. It was very moving,
cool.
Touching, tragic in a way, but also exciting and full of magic. And
it's got everything. It's called Nina.
Yeah,
Nina
full color.
There's a cowboy who is just obsessed with Nina in here.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and that's how the story starts out.
He met her. They were going to get married, and one day she went off.
Just real quick, somebody made a remark about her, which didn't go well for the person who did that.
Right. Bad move.
Yeah.
You don't want to say anything bad about his girlfriend.
No.
And especially since. Yeah. That's interesting, too, because Larry draws this guy here. He kind of draws him as a shorter guy. He's a shorter guy, but he's got a big mouth.
Yeah. We've seen him before. Yeah.
Yeah. And you see
he's in a number of the Western Broken Bees.
So that would be Clyde Brittle and Ernie Malone. Okay, so Clyde is the short guy, and Ernie is the guy with the beard who had his girlfriend. She disappeared. She went off to go get some things. They were going to get married, and she never came back.
She's gone. Yeah. So
right, and
he's going to have to go find her, Well,
she just disappeared. But one day, all of a sudden she shows back up.
There
all of a sudden.
Boom. Yeah, right there. She comes back, but something is off.
Something is amiss.
Something's not the same.
You know, and I like, there was so much that's touching here. Well, like the panel you're showing right here.
Yeah.
These wordless panels by Larned Justin.
Right.
It just shows
he doesn't realize it at first that there's anything different. See, he's mesmerized by her.
Look at the beauty of that panel, of those 3 panels. I mean, that's what love is like, people. I mean, if you don't want, that's what it is, just like that. So,
yeah.
But and there's a Indian man, Native American,
yeah,
who's bringing mushrooms to these people, and the story has something to do with mushrooms.
Yeah,
but it's not
these mushrooms in, and
yeah, but it's not a hallucination.
No,
it's something more sinister.
Yeah.
And it looks like
without giving everything away. But,
you don't want to give it away.
Yeah. You really need to get this and read the story. It's so good. I'm just kind of showing you pages. But Larry has really come up with an interesting story here.
Yeah.
And this guy, but it's also a fantasy. It's also all kinds of stuff.
It's a love story. It's everything. And we can't give away the ending, but I'm telling you, you want to read a great comic, a great story, and Larry is a great storyteller. Always has been. This is one of his best.
Page because that would give away the entire ending. So
I won't do that. Buy it. I mean, or whatever. Trade for it or whatever you want to do. But this is totally worth owning. I thought it was such a moving comic, such a moving story.
It's good. Very good.
Yeah. One of the finest things that I've received recently.
Yeah. I got Amazing Little Comics.
I got it too, but you know what? It's still amazing. It's still amazing, but it's not so little anymore.
It's not as little. You're right. 5x7, but it's, I don't know how many pages.
Not the mini comics. Joe was publishing the mini comics. You know,
this does not have a page count that I could see.
Well, I can see that the last story begins on page 28. The anomaly begins on page 28. So I'm looking at the contents in front.
I don't know how you find page 28 though.
34. It's about 34 to 36 pages long. Okay. It's just that he has a table of contents in the front, so he covers the pages.
And Joe's artwork is fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
Joe Bagdon's artwork. Joe Bagdon is the publisher of Amazing Little Comics. Joe does a lot of things, and everything he does is excellent. And this is a fantasy. Yep. The first story is a fantasy story. But it's drawn
elves.
so well, you know.
Features elves and goblins.
Elves and everything a fantasy story should have.
Yeah, beautiful. The inks are gorgeous on this.
And of course, I think it's continued. When you get to the end, you're not at that. It's continued from before, and it continues again. And it's
one thing. It turns out one of the guys in the story is it looks like everybody in his village was destroyed, killed by a group of goblin beings, and in retaliation, the guys in his tribe went over and destroyed their village, or at least they thought they did, but they made a mistake. They destroyed the wrong village and the wrong goblins, and they've been coming after them. And there's a really cool panel. There's a split panel here where he shows the good guys here. Apparently, you could say the goblins might be the good guys too, but there's a split panel here. Here we are getting ready for the invasion of the goblins. They're coming, but here it shows the goblins at the same time headed towards their encampment, coming after them. So you have, both worlds presented in one panel.
Yeah.
And everybody's pissed off. I think the goblins are more pissed off than the other guys because their village was accidentally targeted. So.
Now, the other thing is our good friend Michael Eisenfeld has a story in here.
Oh yeah, Micah.
Yeah. And it's called The Skull of the Muskrat. The Skull of the Muskrat, right there.
Yep.
And this is also continued. This is part 4 of The Skull of the Muskrat. Actually, I don't know why this does this, but it actually starts the page before here. Mm-hmm. And that may give you a little background on what was going on earlier. I don't know if it does, because I don't have the other ones, or at least if I do, I don't know it. But
yep,
this is the Skull of the Muskrat, and it's a girl with a muskrat skull attached to her hand, which is something you see all the time, you know?
Yeah, I see that a lot.
Everywhere you go.
You don't want to be in the way of this thing. When it clamps down, that's it, man. You're done.
Oh boy. Yeah.
So there she is.
Yeah.
Look at the artwork. Ah, very nice. The fine lines.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful, excellent action pictures and
yes.
Yeah. With the story, there's something magical about this one too.
Here. Little
bat. Flying through the air. Yep, there's bats.
See that bat? Yeah.
Yep. And yeah. And there's this to be continued before it's continued.
This will be continued. Yeah.
A lot of folks.
Were you sure? Is this part of the story or is this something else? I wasn't quite clear on that.
That's part of the story.
It is part of the story. Okay. It wasn't
all these people. There's people have to pay money to this guy. He's this creditor, and if they don't have enough money to pay this guy, then they lose everything they own. So all these people are trapped behind a high voltage fence. And
I see. There's the fence.
Yeah. And the one guy's talking to the bats. He's saying, he said, nobody can get, that fence is high voltage. You'd have to be very desperate to break through that fence. So what happens? They break through.
That's where it's to be continued. So
yeah. So we'll keep an eye on this story if we're fortunate enough to get future issues here. But this was one great story.
Yeah.
And,
now,
ooh.
This next story is La Momia Grita.
The Screaming Monkey.
I got a little problem.
Mummy.
Even with my glasses on, I cannot read the word balloons.
Right.
I cannot. Yeah. I can't read them. They're so small.
I mean, it's good that Joe didn't publish that particular story as a mini comic story. Maybe that's why he made the issue bigger, because this type is like.
Well, this kind of word balloons in this are just.
It's very tiny.
I try, but I can't read them. And it's great looking.
Yeah, there's some really nice scenes here. Here's a scene of this mummy. If I can show it, if you guys can see it, where's it at? Right there.
Yeah.
Well, this mummy's floating above the street, going down the street and just kind of floating.
Yeah.
I think the light scheme here is a little too bright, but the artwork is gorgeous.
Oh, really nice.
Yeah.
Really nice. But
I mean, look at that. I mean, that's scary or what?
And here's a splash page from it.
Yeah, big panel there.
So
that's nice.
I wish I could read that, but I can't. Sorry.
Yeah. I did the best I could. I read it with a magnifying glass. But boy, I have slight the beginnings of cataracts too. So the small type is already hard for me. So that's what happens. You get a little older, folks. But we're working on that. We're going to get that fixed.
I don't need glasses for distance, but I do need it close up. But it just didn't help with this.
Well, Larned already had his cataract surgery.
Yeah,
it's my turn.
I don't need it anymore.
Yeah. For that reason, or you can pick your if you want to pick your nose with your glasses, that works good too. So, and then we get Jason DeGroot, Tony Lorenz. Jason DeGroot and Tony Lorenz in our story featuring the Anomaly, who's a character. I just
did some work for Jason DeGroot on a major project that he's working on. I will keep you informed on that. The project is just beginning, and it's going to be a whoop-a-doo. So anyway, I did do that.
Looking forward to that. I didn't know about that one, so looking forward to it.
Yeah,
the Anomaly character.
Getting some funding for it and everything. So, yep.
The Anomaly character is apparently someone. Well, Joe has a whole pantheon of heroes that go way back, and apparently this character was killed off. And it's interesting because the very first panel, it says, is the end. Mm-hmm. And then it says at the bottom, this story is told in reverse.
In reverse, yeah.
So I read it straight through, and then I read it in reverse, and it kind of works both ways. And I'm like, that's pretty cool.
Pretty interesting.
So, but this lady comes to the graveyard where the Anomaly is buried.
The artwork on this?
Tony Lorenz.
Tony Lorenz again. Okay. Yeah, I see it. Yeah. Letters by Joe Bagdon, written by Jason DeGroot.
Yeah.
And this story is told in reverse. Yeah. So
you can read it forward.
Get it and figure it out.
You can read it backwards. Totally very unique.
$4.98. No, that's wrong. You can't short the guy. It's $4.99. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, that extra penny. You might want to throw in an extra penny. Just make it $5. Yeah. Come on.
I wouldn't give him an extra penny. Use your own judgment, but it's $4.99.
Yeah, you PayPal that extra penny, you'll break the bank.
Yeah, issue number 7.
Where are we at? We're 56 minutes into this. We got a couple more to go.
Here. We got 2 more comics to do. Let's do them.
Yeah, well, we got the awesome, the great, the inimitable.
Yep.
No one else like him. Steve Willis.
Steve Willis with 2 cranium frenzies, 35 and 36. Let's take a look at 35.
Well,
it's going to be rather difficult to describe this story. If you know, well, you must know Steve Willis by now because we feature him at the end of every show.
Yeah.
And I mean, the road to Bazango.
It looked like the road to Bazango. But anyway, it starts out so simply, so innocently with this guy. He's just pulling up to this here, and a couple of people here. I guess they're people. Yeah, it was a little penguin guy, and then there's another guy.
Yeah.
And he just wants, how do I get to the road to Bazango?
Yeah.
And
well, that's an interesting question. There's no direct way to get there. There's no direct way to get there.
No, they start talking to him, and they fill in they give him all kinds of information.
Yeah, but one
the house up on this hill.
See that big old house up yonder? That's where Clem Moop lives.
And that
may help.
And apparently Clem somehow he ate his entire face off and tried to replace it with a plastic globe.
That was during the liverwurst famine of '88.
But it didn't fool anyone. And you need to know that. That's important. That's an important fact. It didn't fool anyone. Yeah. And now remember, we're trying to answer how do I get to the road to Bazango?
That's what we're trying to find out.
Yep. And I don't know. It gets into all kinds of detail.
There's a musical right here, Muki the Musical, and that is lyrics by Bob Richard, who helps out with this issue. And all the printed, not hand printed, but text is the music. It's
based on the musical Tommy by The Who.
Yes.
So I was reading it, and Steve has this whole, he's reworded the entire thing. He's created his own musical based exactly on Tommy, but totally berserk. And it has to do with this little mucus baby.
Yes.
We're talking about a mucus baby, disgusting little slime ball. That is Muki. Or Mookie or Muki.
No, Loogie. It's a Loogie.
It's a Loogie. It rhymes with Mookie. Okay, so Loogie, Mookie. And really disgusting stuff. And he describes the entire history. And occasionally he throws in lyrics from the musical Tommy, only it's a different musical. It's Mookie. Like later on is Flamball Wizard. Ever since I was a young boy, I suffered common colds with coughing and a sore throat.
Snot boy, right here.
Yeah, big blob of snot.
Big blob of snot boy, right here. I can show you.
There he is, dripping disgusting mucus all over the place. Yeah,
there he is.
This I'm telling you, folks, this issue is not for the faint of heart. And there's a lot of other stuff that happens.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Here's something I found interesting. You see that? A failure to communicate. You recognize?
Yeah, from Cool Hand Luke.
Cool Hand Luke, the guy from
Paul Newman.
Yeah, no,
we got a failure.
It's the guy that was his boss in the
movie. From that movie.
He's a famous actor.
We got a failure to communicate.
Yeah.
And we got the mucus guy again. And he's like, okay, this part of the song is called Pick Me, Sneeze Me. And he says, it's like the Who song. It's like, where are we at? Pick me, sneeze me, wipe me, please me. And he's dripping snot.
Oh, yeah.
Pick me, sneeze me, wipe me, please me. Looking at you, I'm getting queasy, gazing at you, and all you secrete, and on and on and on. It's awful. Right behind you, I see the millions, counting on your viscous colloids. From you, I get protection for my throat and adenoids.
Oh, my gosh.
He's killing me. It's sheer genius. And there's a point where there's an interruption here, where we get to Steve himself sitting at home with his cats.
Yeah, Steve is sitting here at home with his cats, which are
and they're
all
just
over the place.
Yeah, they're just lying around, flopped around, not doing anything. But Steve gets up. He gets up and he walks over.
The cats are over. He gets a phone call. The cats are over here just tearing the house to pieces.
Yeah, they go nuts. I mean, they're setting stuff on fire. They're they're flying all over the place. They're having a pie fight. And so Steve gets off the phone and he goes back.
Yeah,
and they're flying through the air like superheroes.
Stuff is going on, and Steve says.
He sees it for a second.
I thought I saw.
Yeah.
And
one of the cats was dressed like
nothing.
One of the cats was dressed like Napoleon.
Yeah.
But yeah, they assure him he didn't see anything.
Yeah, he didn't see anything. And then Steve said, "Did you just speak to me in English?"
Like a human? He said, "No." So
for a minute there, I thought I was going crazy.
I can't help it, man. This is like the funniest thing. This is one of the funniest. Every time I think
Yeah.
I've seen the funniest thing that Steve's ever done. He
we got
tops
another
it.
issue coming up. You haven't seen the funniest thing yet.
We're not done.
No. I don't know.
So,
if you're not getting these comics and you're listening to us, it doesn't make any sense. Well, I know. But if you would buy the comic, you would get it.
yeah. Buy or trade, I think.
Buy? Oh, yeah, you can't buy it. You have to trade for it. I'm sorry. You cannot buy it.
Send Steve something.
You trade him, or you can send some stamps, but you can't buy it. And once you do that, you are on his mailing list, whether you like it or not.
They're gonna get some crazy stuff in the mail. I'm telling you right now.
Oh my God!
So we do have one more issue here.
Yeah, we got to do the other issue. We're getting
number 36, Cranium of Frenzy.
It's very important on this issue to do one thing before we get too far into it. I just want you to know that there's a word in here. Let me put my glasses back on.
Yeah, you have to say it right.
You have to. The word is. He even said, "I'll do it from here because
I got it here." Jumbo Bonobo, if you don't mind. Yeah. Jumbo Bonobo.
That word Jumbo Bonobo.
Right.
Jumbo Bonobo. That is very important in this issue.
Yeah.
Because the whole issue is based on that. So, I mean, I know you've been waiting on pins and needles to hear anything based on Jumbo Bonobo.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah. Well, it starts with a guy on a bus. Yeah. He's going somewhere, and a lady comes along and asks can she sit beside him, and it's the last seat left, so he really has no choice. You see him looking out the window at first, and this is important. This is important. She starts putting on her lipstick, and he notices that, and she is left-handed. This is an important thing to remember as far as the story goes.
Left-handed. Now, she says to him, first you'll need to remove that ridiculous disguise. You're not fooling anyone. You see that right there in that panel on the right.
Yeah.
And then he takes his glasses off and cleans them.
And he looks just the same. He looks exactly the same.
What are you running from? So I guess she's not concerned with the disguise anymore since he took the glasses off.
He looks the same with it or without it. It's just...
Yes.
So, yeah.
So,
okay. So he talks about being an aspiring writer living in a squalid apartment.
I was working on a story about a surly clown I called Jabo Benavo.
So he says, sometimes I bounce these ideas to my friends. One day, one of my pals kept saying, Jabo Benavo, Jabo Benavo. The phrase caught on. So he starts saying Jabo Benavo. It's like a mantra. It doesn't go away. So then other people start saying it.
It's become a thing.
Yeah. And then one day, a lady comes in, enters into the picture in a clown suit.
Now they're starting to worship the clown.
The Jabo Benavo. Yeah.
Jabo Benavo. They're starting to worship the clown.
Yeah, they're starting to sort of identify her with the clown, bowing down, saying, all hail Jabo Benavo.
There they are. Yeah. And then you have all these people here saying the same catchphrase over and over.
And look at it, their eyes are like blank. They're all just hypnotized. Jabo Benavo, Jabo Benavo.
Yeah.
And it spreads over weeks and months. The entire city is taken over by it. And he even leaves town for a while, and he comes back, and all
these clowns are on the bottom saying it.
All hail Jabo Benavo. So it's like an infestation. It's taken over the entire city. It gets even bigger. It becomes a giant Benavo
But
Jabo
that
Panabo
big
merchandise
corporation
corporate
takes-
office. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it gets so big, that a corporation takes it over.
Yep. Is climbing to the top of the corporate ladder because he apparently created Jabo Bonabo. It was his idea. So
I can't hear you.
he's climbing to the top of the corporate ladder. As the owner, he becomes legendary, and they begin offering all these money and all this stuff to him, and so it's like a board of directors there, but
Yeah.
they're a bunch of clowns except for him.
Yeah. There's a big, yeah. Where is the board of directors meeting? I lost it.
Page 10 and 11. The numbers are very tiny, but they're there. So they don't want to be accused. First of all, we need to find a group we can dehumanize, scapegoat, negativity, hate, conflict, play so much better, blah, blah, blah. And they start, the people at the top of the corporate ladder start blaming everything on Southpaws. Southpaws, left-handers are all that's bad. They're to blame for everything.
Yeah.
And they start burning books by Vonnegut and Mark Twain and other left-handers. I mean, this story just gets wild. It just gets way out of control. So, but they fire him because basically, I think because he's a southpaw. So they fire him.
They have to fire him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing.
And he gets pissed off. And they think that he falls into a vat of something, a vat of red dye, because they were manufacturing American flags based on the Jabo Bonabo. And you got a picture of this guy, this corporate guy. And he looks like Donald Trump right here. I don't know if you can hear the thunder outside, but I think God is warning us that this is dangerous territory we're treading on here. But it keeps thundering outside. Anyway, it goes on and on. It gets madder and madder and madder.
All the way to the end of the book. Crazier and crazier.
There's kind of a punchline right at the end, right at the last panel.
Yeah.
I shouldn't give that away either, but it's...
No, better not. So, anyway.
The lady he meets on the train turns out to be more than he thought she was.
Mm-hmm. You can't go wrong with a Steve Willis comic.
I will show you that. She's fluffing her hair up and everything, and it turns out she says, "You're the original Jabo Bonabo." Well, Jabo Bonabo. He's everything and nothing.
That's what I was going to
Anyway,
say. That is
you'd have to read the book. Oh, we can't describe it. We can't do it justice.
We can't do it justice is right. It's too much. You've got to
Especially
read it.
after this one. These are both great. And
Yeah, both of them.
Of course, along with
So that's what we have. Well, that was quite a few comics.
yeah.
And our show ran a little longer. I hope you stuck with it. We had fun, and we'll be back.
One panel bonus. Steve Willis sent me this. This is an original drawing. It says, "In the fraternity of eternity, and worse than Sisyphus, Orville had to push a single grain of sand up a hill forever." And you see this guy, and he's just pushing one grain of sand up the hill.
Yeah.
So
Is that a Morty comic?
that's a Morty Comics.
That's a Morty comic. That's an original.
An original that he enclosed. This is number 8,779.
Yeah.
Just goes. This guy never stops creating, never runs out of ideas.
No.
Just a genius as far
He
as
is.
comic book work is concerned. Being a great creator, he's really one of the best of the best. No kidding. All right.
Okay,
So-
we're going to wrap it up because we ran long. But anyway, we had a great time. I hope you did. And we will try and be back toward the end of August with another episode before Steve leaves the United States for good.
Not for good.
Oh.
I'll be back. It's just 2 weeks in September, folks.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll see y'all then.
All right.
See you in August.
See you in August. A couple of weeks. Just a couple of weeks.
Yeah, a couple of weeks.
Might even be able to get a couple of shows done before this. I'm leaving like September 9th. So that's like 5 weeks from now. So we might be able to get one
anyway, for sure.
Absolutely.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Hi, and welcome to Talking Small Press Comics, episode number 73, with me, Larned Justin, and normally Steve Keeter. But Steve is getting ready for a long, or I don't know how long exactly, but a extensive vacation out of the country, at least a couple of weeks. So he's preparing for that right now, and he's extremely busy. Apparently there's a lot to, taking a vacation like that. So that's what Steve is doing. So I am filling in by myself until he gets back, which will be toward the end of September. So wanted to give you that update. That's one reason for doing this. Let you know what's going on. But we also have a couple things we can look at. And one of them is, speaking of Steve, is the United Fanzine Organization newsletter, and TF. That's what I call it because the name is rather complicated. But anyway, that's what this is, and the newsletter here is 60 pages, so it's really got a lot of info in it. All of the members do reviews of all of the new comics. So each member gives his thoughts on the new comics that have been released for members of the group. All the members of the group have to do a comic, I think at least once a year. And when they release a new one, everybody reviews it. And so there's a lot in here, 60 pages. And I don't know the cost of this, but I think if you contact Steve before he leaves, which would be early in September, he's going to be leaving, I'm sure he could get you a copy. So keep that in mind. If you want to find out about comics, and some of these we may have reviewed here, I don't know exactly, but you'll get some great opinions on comics if you get one of these. So I wanted to do that. Also, our great friend Steve Willis has Cranium Frenzy number 37 out. But you may notice, this is the first time I've ever seen Steve do one that doesn't say Cranium Frenzy on the cover. What this is, it's very unusual. So let me see if I can explain it. It's called Cultural Countdown, and it starts with number 100, and it gives you a little cartoon about, for instance, the number 100. It gives you a little cartoon about the number 100. Like the first one I will read to you: 100 Years' War, 1337 to 1453. Strictly speaking, it was intermittent for 116 years. But so the first one is the 100 Years' War. The second one is 99 bottles of beer on the wall. And the third one is the 98 Oldsmobile, or number 98 Oldsmobile. And this is filled with those kind of little cartoons all the way to 0. So you start at 100, and on the last page you come up with 0. Now, the interesting thing about the cover is, if I can do this, I'm going to show you that everybody, almost everybody on this cover is inside the book. Also, there are some people on the cover that aren't in the book, a very few, but there's also some people in the book that are not on the cover, so it's both ways. So I made this little sheet up. I'm going to try and show you this, where I identified a lot of the people on the cover. So you can play your own game with this if you get this issue, because I didn't do them all, but I did quite a few, and you can find them in here. Now I'm going to post this by itself in this video so that you can kind of see who's on the cover and see how Steve did it. Very, very cool, very different, and Steve is always very different. And as always, you can't buy the issue. You have to either send a trade to get this to Steve Willis, or you have to send stamps or something like that. I think he prefers a trade, but you can't buy it. There's no price, so you can't buy it. What you want to do is just send him one of your comics if you're a creator, or you want to send him a letter, or you want to send him some stamps so that he can keep doing this. And once he gets you on his mailing list, you're on it. So he will mail you a Cranium Frenzy every time he produces one. And this is number 37, as I said. So that is what's going on here right now. So I have asked a couple of people if they would be interested in helping out while Steve's gone, and we will see what happens. Some of them are busy, and you know, everybody's busy. So I don't know if we'll have anybody on with me. I'm going to try to, and until Steve gets back. But so I'm going to say so long for now, and we will be back shortly. Either Steve and I, or me and somebody else, or just me. Anyway, thank you for watching.
We're still here.
Oh yeah, we're still here. We are still here, but we don't really have very much in the way of comics to talk about today. So we thought we would talk about small press in general.
No, we're not going to talk about small press.
Yeah,
We're going to talk about my glasses.
You're going to talk about whatever.
But you don't seem to understand how important it is that I talk about my glasses right now.
You
see,
right?
these are the glasses. These are the glasses I usually use. These are my most recent prescription. Okay. Now I had an appointment with an optometrist. But I have delayed the appointment until after my trip to the Philippines, which is another story. I'm going to the Philippines in a few days, and I'll be gone for a couple of weeks. And the glasses, the small type, like I work in a pharmacy, and I have to read the small type on little medicine bottles, right? And I can't read. It's like, it's just crazy. So, how you like this Clem Cadiddle Hopper hairdo? Pretty good, huh? Remember Clem Cadiddle Hopper? Yeah. If you're a Red Skelton fan, you know what I'm talking about. I pulled out an older prescription. And believe it or not, older prescription, I see everything sharp and clear.
Oh, boy.
Somebody screwed it up last time. Last time I went to the optometrist, they screwed it up, man. I've been going back in time. Especially if I do like this. I'm looking at the bottom. I can see everything. Oh, my gosh, Larned, I never realized what a darn handsome guy you are, man. I can see it now, though. You guys see it? Darn handsome, right?
I see it. I don't know if anybody else does, but I do.
Makes me want to grow a beard and dye my hair white.
Exactly. You know what I was gonna ask you? I had this thought because
when you first started, and I know you started comics early, you know, in high school or even before that.
Yeah,
But
like 1800s.
you had the ambition to be a professional comic book artist. I mean, did you strive to do that? Or were you more interested in just making comics, your own comics? Well, he left. Okay.
That prompted me to go look for something. I just happened to have it nearby.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, when I was a well, especially when I was a teenager, I
Did you,
had ambitions. I thought, maybe one day I'll be a comic book professional. And the
see,
comic at that time, the Marvel comics and the DC, they were a lot more fun than they are now.
well, what I was going to
And
say just before you go, I'll tell you my side.
mhm.
Back when we started, there was no internet or anything like that. So if you thought you wanted to be maybe a professional cartoonist, what would you do? How would you do it? I know you could do it today by, you got Instagram, you got Facebook, you got Twitter, you got all kinds of things where you could show your work and say, that kind of thing. But back when we started, I wouldn't have known how to do it if I wanted to. Now, I really never had the ambition to be a professional comic book artist because I thought the chances of that were the same as being a professional baseball player. Actually, no chance. So that's how I looked at it. So you thought maybe you could do it?
I thought maybe I could stop my hairline from receding. When my hair is like, you can see. Never mind. But I always had a high forehead. But this is beside the point. Um,
Absolutely.
I'm in a zany mood today. I'm sorry, folks. I'm getting ready to leave. I'm going on vacation. So, but in those days, my only understanding of how to become a professional was to send something to Marvel or DC, send a portfolio of your work. I know that Chuck Robinson, who was a great mentor to me, who published Comique in the late 60s, early 70s, and was my own book. Was kind of based on Comique. It was certainly modeled after it. He sent a portfolio into Warren magazines, Creepy and Eerie and Vampirella. And at that time, Marv Wolfman was one of the editors of Warren magazines, and Marv Wolfman was an old friend of Chuck's from the 1960s in their small press days. And so Chuck sent in a story and a portfolio, and Marv there was a particular story that he wrote about a sinister portrait, like sort of a portrait of Dorian Gray type story. The portrait had some sort of a sinister magic about it, and but Marv sent him a letter and said, "Well, it's okay, Chuck." And I do remember our small press days. I read the letter. This is kind of neat. So I'm reading a letter by Marv Wolfman to my friend Chuck, and he says, "But it could be better, and could you rewrite it and do it like this?" So Chuck rewrote the story and sent it in, and Marv said, "Yeah, but you still need to rewrite it." And anyway, it was a whole process.
Yeah.
So just what I'm saying is, even if you know somebody, and often that's what it is, who you know.
Yeah.
Even if you know somebody,
especially back then. Yeah.
It's not that easy to get into professional comics. I know that when I wrote Mighty Mouse for Spotlight Comics, which was a short-lived mainstream publishing outfit that Jim Main was involved in. I wrote Mighty Mouse and Underdog and a few other scripts. And I had one story published, and I had other stories that were slated to be published, but Spotlight Comics went under.
Probably your fault.
It was my fault. And but Marvel got the rights to the Terrytoons characters, Heckle and Jekyll, Deputy Dog, all of those characters, and Mighty Mouse. And so I wrote a letter to Marvel Comics and said I was one of the writers on in Spotlight Comics when they had the Mighty Mouse series. They owned all the Terrytoons characters, and if you're interested, I'd like to write for you guys.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of nerve. I'm telling Marvel, I want to write for you guys. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Yeah, what
And
they
I
think.
did get, yeah, the thing was, and I got a response. I mean, I got a handwritten response, a letter in the mail from Marvel Comics. I can't remember who was the particular editor who was involved in that series of Terry Toon's adventures and stuff. And they said, well, we have plenty of artists right now. We have plenty of writers, but we'll keep you in mind.
Yeah.
Which was a nice way of saying adios.
Yeah, exactly.
But at least they sent me a handwritten response.
Yeah.
Well, at least,
something to have.
you know, I got something. Most people get ignored.
Right.
At that time, I think they were getting like 900 to 1,000 submissions a day from people.
So,
yeah.
You know, once I kind of realized that's not going to happen. I'm not going to be able to do that. And I, at the same time, kind of discovered small press. And I said, well, I can still make comics and I can just do what I want to do, which is the beauty of small press. You don't have an editor. You don't have any deadline. You don't have anybody telling you what to do. And it's for me at that time, I said, man, I'll just draw some comics and see what happens. And I've been doing it ever since. And I think so have you. It just turned out to be the best way to go. Certainly can try to
your own boss.
but if you can't do that, this is a lot of fun. You can have a great time doing your own comics and trading them with people, and you can sell them. And very few make a living doing this. You know,
Excuse
it's
me, folks.
rare.
My allergies.
Pardon me.
Go ahead. My allergies are interrupting me.
Oh.
That's why it's kind of. I look like it's kind of hard for me to breathe right now. I'm having stuffy nose, and I've tried nasal spray. We don't want to talk about this. It's gross, but I'm still here.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's what I was
saying. You've done a lot of great comics. You've done a lot of great comics, and you're still doing them. What was that recent one you did? Space
Falcon.
Space Falcon.
Yeah.
And,
that was my most recent. That was 32 pages, full color and all that. And that was a lot of work. And while I was thinking, doing all that, which that took me about 4 months, but I was thinking, boy, if I was a professional, I couldn't take 4 months to do 32 pages. That would be, they'd never accept that.
You got to meet that monthly deadline, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Which is why Barry Windsor Smith, and he did Conan, he had so much problem, if you looked at the Conan, the books that he did, as they went along, they got more and more complex, more and more complicated. The art was very intricate, and it was just you could see that this guy. I mean, that was a lot of work to do month after month after month, and he couldn't make the deadline. So eventually, they replaced him with John Buscema.
Yeah, but of course, mainstream comic books have a guy that does the pencils. They have a guy that does the inks. They have a guy that does the color. They have a guy that does the background. We don't have all that. We can have some help with some other artists, but not quite to that extent. But we don't have deadlines either. Anyway, that's what I enjoy about small press. It's just more fun, I think.
Yeah, I was going to mention, I still am going to mention the small press co-ops. I'm not going to get into a lot of detail about it, but I just pulled this up. This is something I did in 2001. In fact, what is this? Who's calling me? Orange GOP voter information. Well, I want to answer that, right?
Yeah.
Voter information.
Yeah.
But I did a 2001 BPP Quality Award strip. I'm not here to toot my own horn. Yes, I am, but not really. But it's interesting when I look at this. This is something I wrote, pencil, drew, letter, the whole bit. You can see.
Larry Blake in there.
That's Larry Blake. Larry Blake is in it, and it featured a lot of BPP members. There's Jim May.
You're holding the book in front of the mic.
Yeah, I know that's difficult, and I've got I got this blue ball mic here too, and still for some reason it doesn't quite work. Anyway, I did that.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to actually bring this out in this context, but it's interesting. I'll tell you who else appears in this strip. Right there. Tim Corrigan.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's Tim Corrigan. This is something I wrote and drew. Now, this would have never been published in a mainstream comic book. It's just a satire I did for the UFO, for the United Fanzine Organization. But you know, I did have those ambitions in the early days. And when do you think those ambitions died out? I don't know about for you, but somewhere along, I think because I realized that the stuff that I did wouldn't fit in Marvel or DC, which was the big two in those days. Pretty much still is, but I realized that they weren't, you know, I wasn't suited for mainstream comics. And I think most of the tons of small press stuff that I see, this is stuff that'll never be published in the mainstream.
Right. There are some publishers that will publish. There's a number of small press graphic novels that get published, things like that. I don't know if I'd ever attempt a graphic novel. Would you? I mean, 200, 300 pages?
That's a lot of work.
Yeah. I thought it was a lot of work to do 32 pages, but I can't imagine doing 200 or 300 pages.
I mean, everything.
I've got a lot of people do it.
I'm sorry, but yeah, you're right. A lot of people do it, and
those seem to be a little easier to get published. You know, if you do that and pitch it to a couple of these, Dark Horse or what's the other one?
I'm not keeping up too much with the.
I can't quite remember some of them offhand. I don't have anything written down, but there's a number of publishers that will publish graphic novels by small press people, really. And then they get a little name. So, but few and far between. So you got to love doing comics, if you're going to do this.
Now, I did, one of the owners in the house I live in, the owners of the house actually live here. They have a separate room, and they both work for Hilton. And people leave things in their room at the Hilton Inn. People, and they'll hold it. They hold on to it. They have a lost and found department. They hold on to it for like 3 months. After that, it's up for grabs to any employees that want it. And the owner of the house here, Ed, he brought home this, which I never heard of. Can you hear me all right? Cat Club comic book influencers by Dave Pilkey. I never heard of this. But it's pretty good. It's drawn in what they used to call a Matt Fizel stick figure style.
Oh, let's see.
It's in full color.
A little more than a stick figure, but Matt really sticks to the stick figure.
More. Well, you're right. This is a little more than a stick figure.
More,
There is stick figure stuff here.
But see, if you're going to do a graphic novel, look how simple that is, so you can get a lot of work done because the art is simple.
Yeah. This is almost stick figure, is what I'm saying. But it's definitely. I don't think without. And I never heard of this guy, and I never heard of this, but I did look him up on Facebook, and I saw that a couple of people I know said nice things about him. So he must be pretty good. But still, I think that Matt Fizel influence is right there.
Oh, I think so. Sure. I kind of had the same kind of thing. Okay, go ahead with yours. I got one too.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's not but it's similar in the simplicity, but it's also very sophisticated. If you read the stories, they're hilarious.
Well, I belong to here in St. Louis. I belong to a comic cartoonist group called Ink and Drink, and we meet at a brewery, so that's kind of nice, a micro brewery. But anyway, the last meeting, a guy hands me a graphic novel, and he says, I've read this. I don't have any need for it anymore. Here. So he gives it to me. And it's called Sullivan's Sluggers. And it's about a minor league baseball team. But I'll show you. I haven't read the whole thing yet, but it's kind of neat what they did. But anyway, let me just show you a couple pages. Here's the type of artwork it is, like this.
Ooh, very nice. Ooh.
It's very detailed, and all that. And the story is they're on a bus going to a game, and they come up. If I can find this for you, they come up to a place that says "Do not enter." And they're all on the bus, and it's right where they're going, and it tells them "Do not enter." And so. I said, well, we got no choice. We're going through there. Well, when they do that, it turns out that it's full of monsters and all kinds of stuff. They run into these monsters, and people's heads turn into monsters and all that. And here's another page with a monster. And there's the team going after the monster.
2-page spread on that one.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
But anyway, and I haven't even read the whole thing yet, but it's, I don't know if the page numbered. Let me see. Didn't number the pages, but you can see, pretty thick book.
Yeah.
And this is published by Dark Horse.
No kidding.
Dark Horse does that, yeah. I don't know the artist. His name is James Stokey, I guess you would say, and Mark Andrew Smith. Both of those guys put this together. So anyway, yeah. So if you want to do a graphic novel, you might get it published.
I'm going to say one thing more about this book.
Go ahead.
Cat Kid book. Because if you want to see the Matt Feazell influence, look at this page. And this is I am Dr. Frederick Wortham. You remember Dr. Wortham, who was a psychologist who almost single-handedly had comic books banned in the 1950s. For people who read comics, it says here, comics turn kids into criminals.
Oh, yeah.
They're not a little more, almost a stick figure, a little beyond that, but I still see a Matt Feazell influence on this.
Yeah.
Matt influenced an awful lot of people. So,
yeah.
This one here has Charlie Brown's shirt on.
Brown is in there. Yeah, I see.
Yeah. But this was somebody who was just left in their hotel room.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And
sure, they just forgot.
I have a copy of this. If any of you guys out there, you've heard of Dave Pilkey, tell me what else he's done. Pretty talented guy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I thought we were going to talk about co-ops. So I got all these old co-op zines.
Well, we can certainly talk about that.
We can mention those.
Yeah, I was in a couple. The SPS. I was in that Press Syndicate. And
look at the issues of Rap Sheet that I have.
Rap Sheet? Was that the Small Press?
The Small Press Syndicate newsletter.
Okay.
Looks like it says R Sheet.
I didn't know that or not, but I was a member at one time. I don't remember a whole lot about it. Oh, yeah.
Rap Sheet, the SPS. Now they are a Facebook group, essentially, I believe.
Yeah.
And I was in that. I was in there long enough to accumulate this many issues of their newsletter, their monthly newsletter. So wow. I was there for a while.
Yeah.
And I didn't have time to go through these, but I know you're in here. In fact, this is how I first heard of Larned Justin because of Rap Sheet.
Oh, okay.
Because of the SPS.
Then we did something called Loggerheads where we were both there.
Yeah, we did that too. But when I first heard of the Vloggerheads, we ended up on a vlogging site and also Let's Vlog.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm just looking at this particular issue here, and some of the members: Renee Blancett, Dale Martin, Ronson Butler, Sherman Burnett, Artie Boom,
People
Matt
still going.
Levin,
Those people are still around.
Daniel Nollenberg. A lot of these people are still around, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was interesting. It wasn't the first small press co-op, but it was one of the best.
Yeah.
One of the best. And I got all these issues.
Wow.
Where am I?
Really
I'm over
cool.
here. There's the camera.
Yeah. You know, I might have some in the basement somewhere.
Yeah. Issue number 28.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay. Who drew that?
Who's
Can't
on
read
it?
it. Okay. I don't know who drew that cover.
Oh, okay.
But
He didn't know who did the cover, but I don't know.
here's issue. Andy Nukes did this one. Issue number 124.
Oh, he did everybody's cover for a long time.
Yeah.
If you didn't have an Andy Nukes cover, you know, you weren't in.
Great. John Lambert.
That one I don't know.
John Lambert. Oh well, he's terrific. You know him. You just can't remember right now. We talked about something that he drew a couple of years ago. You know, this show's been on the air. How long has this show been on the air? Like 3 years now. Time flies. Yeah.
Yeah, 74 episodes, and it might be 3 years. You know.
Yeah, it's 3 years or close to it.
Yeah,
it's hard to believe.
And the only way we can exist, I got to make a little pitch here. The only way we can exist, not the only way we can exist. I mean, we can do other things, but what we like to do is promote your comics if you are a creator. If you would like your comics featured on our show, what you need to do is right below in the description is both of our addresses, and send us each a copy of your comic. And we will get it on the show. We will take our time taking a look at it. We'll promote it the best we can. And our views have been up in the 150 range most of the time. Not a whole lot, but it's decent for what we're doing.
Certain episode, the Willis episode. The Steve Willis interview got over like 450.
Yeah, that was over 400. Yes. And some of our interviews have been very high like that. We like to interview cartoonists, you know. If you want to come on the show as, you know, and be interviewed, our email addresses are down below also, right below our address. Email us. We'd love to talk to you about that. So
essentially, we do interviews and we also review your comics.
We review the comic, but we do not critique the comic.
We're here to support and encourage people in the small press creators.
We don't feel that we can critique small press comics. We don't know what was in the creator's mind when he did it. You know, we can critique mainstream comics easy, but not small press. And we wouldn't want to attempt it even. So we just promote them. So
did you know when I was a kid, I didn't really like Steve Ditko's artwork.
You didn't?
No. And Don Heck, oh my gosh, forget Don Heck. He's the worst sketchy I thought at the time. I respect him more over the years. He did great work on Iron Man. Steve Dick, I was totally Kirby. Of course, I was a kid. I'm talking about 6, 7, 8 years old, and I'm collecting comics. But the stories of Spider-Man was so great, those early issues of Spider-Man, that I couldn't wait. Every month I'm buying them. And but I don't know. At that time, I remember there was a letter in Spider-Man, and I remember reading it. Somebody wrote in and said, well, Steve Ditko, he draws everybody with square heads and square bodies. Of course, over the years, I didn't realize at the time just how great he was and what a storyteller he was. And now he's one of my all-time favorites, you know, way at the top. And it's funny how your opinions change over the years, you know.
Yeah, I was never a superhero fan in mainstream comics. I kind of like Batman, you know, that kind of thing. more, but not that I would, subscribe to it or anything like that. I just was never interested in that. And I've said many times on here, my big thing was Mad magazine. I thought the original artists from Mad were the best artists I'd ever seen. So that was what my thing was, not mainstream comics.
Did you read a lot of like Archie comics or Harvey comics or
No,
none of that?
none of that either.
I actually
much younger. I like Walt Disney,
the Disney comics.
Mickey Mouse.
There you go. There you go.
That.
And I live 15 minutes. I live 15 minutes away from Disney World in Orlando, so I'm a fan of
there.
Yeah. Walt Disney. I once had in fact, it was a friend of mine. She had a little shed behind her house where she lived with her mom and dad. And she told me that there was a bunch of old comics back there that her dad had bought back in the 1950s. And I went out there with her, and there was a whole bunch of Disney stuff from the 50s. Carl Barks, Uncle Scrooge, Carl Barks artwork, and a number of original, not reprints, the originals. And I was able to acquire a few of those because she was a friend. So she gave me, you can have them. She didn't know. Even then, they were worth something. But now, But I don't. But at one point, I sold my entire comic collection, which is a terrible tragedy, and I don't have them anymore.
Have you ever sent a comic into the company that puts them in a slab and then grades them? Have you ever done that?
No.
You seen those?
Puts them in a slab and grades them.
You know what I'm talking about? Huh?
No, I really don't. No, I haven't heard of this before.
They're in a clear slab of a plastic slab when they come back to you.
Put them in graphite or something like Han Solo?
Pardon me?
You remember when Han Solo was trapped in a granite or something? He was a big stone thing. Never mind.
Anyway, the company will grade the cover. If the staples are rusted, it will knock off certain amount, and you get a grade. I don't know how much it costs. The prices vary. I think the cheapest may be like $25 to have one done. But if you have a favorite comic and you want to preserve it, I think that's why people do it. But the company grades them and sends them back to you in this plastic. I don't even know if you can get them out of that plastic thing. But
really, how do you read them?
Do it. Where I see it, there's some guys that have a YouTube show called Power Comics, and Power Comics,
those guys,
they do early small press, but superhero small press done by very amateur artists. They are, and that's what they love. So they will take some of those, send them in, and get them graded and everything.
But those guys, they are, what are they, trapped in the 80s or 90s. There was a certain particular era that these guys are fans of.
Right,
and
right.
And
they refer to them as Power Comics. That was the name they give them. But,
Tony Lorenz is the
I think he
is
in one
king of Power Comics.
I think he's in John Tar, which was
John Tar. He did John Tar.
Lorenz was in that comic. Doing part of it. Maybe
Well,
you have a John Tar. I don't know. If you do, that'd be interesting.
John Tar, like 30 years ago or so, and the Power Comics guys collected it.
Complete John
Tar in one big volume.
Well, you know who put that out? Power Comics.
Power Comics.
They did that. Yeah. Their YouTube show did that. Yeah.
So, like, we're looking here.
Yeah.
Tony Lorenz, it's the very first John Tar story right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Tony just got better and better since then. But it's kind of classic stuff. It's really good.
Yeah.
I can recommend it.
But when you see them in that slab and they're graded, you're spending a lot of money to do that, and I don't know if you can ever get it back out of the slab. But
that would be the problem to me, and I don't see
you
doing
could
that
never read it again, you know.
unless you have like a copy of
If you have
Action
another
Comics
copy.
#1,
Right.
and you don't ever want to read it again, and you put it in this, and you can't break the plastic with a hammer. You know, it's there.
You couldn't do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any way to get it. It didn't look like there was any way to get it out once they put it in there.
Yeah.
But it's just
So
a
I'm
way
stuck.
to preserve it, and it gets graded. You have the grade on there and everything.
Yeah, I'm stuck with comic bags because my old comics, I'm gonna take them out and I'm gonna look at them from time to time.
Yeah, me too.
I'll settle for the
I
comic
read 'em.
bag.
Yeah.
Most of my small press collection is also not really most, but the older stuff and the 8.5 by 11 stuff, which is generally older stuff. Those are all in plastic bags. So I'm trying to save a lot of this.
The other thing I kind of forgot to mention, that if you do send us comics, I do have a little antique toy store near me, and they allowed me to put a display of small press comics in there. And if one of yours would sell, you would get half the cover price, which I know if you have $1 comic, getting 50 cents in the mail is not too exciting, but if they sell, I send you the money. And my experience is it's very hard to sell them. Very, very hard, especially in that store. But I asked the owner, he just remodeled, and I asked him, do you still want to have these small press comics? Oh, yeah. He said, oh, absolutely, I want them. Okay. I'll keep restocking it, changing. I will change out the comics every so often, so everybody has a chance to sell. And so I keep them in there for a few weeks and then change them out.
At least they're there.
Yeah, at least they're there. If there's a chance somebody buys it, I will send you half the cover price.
Yeah. And there's probably toys in there that have been in there for years and years and years that nobody's ever bought. But one day,
you know what that store mainly does is Pokemon cards. That's how he survives. Pokemon cards. Yeah, it's only open a couple days a week, but that's what he does. He said he sold a Pokemon card for $3,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Shut down for the weekend.
Yeah.
Take some time off.
Yeah. I don't even know what they are.
Right. Yeah. Well, I was looking through a lot of stuff today, and I came across some interesting stuff. We talked about co-ops. Of course, there's the United Fanzine Organization co-op. The only reason I want to mention this is because this was issue number 200 of their newsletter, Tetragrammaton Fragments. We're up to 277 now. Mm-hmm. And Jason DeGroot was the chairman of the UFO at the time. But I had a person there, Jason DeGroot, and this was issue 200. Mm-hmm. And what year did this come out? Year 2000. So the UFO had already been around since 1969. Mm-hmm. And I put a page in there where I drew a picture and I listed every single member of this group. You want to talk about small press history? Everyone who had been a member up to this point.
Oh, wow. Holy cow.
And that's me. That's me in the middle. Of course, you can recognize me by these huge muscles. But there's the names. The members over 200 issues.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So, I did history. Let's see. Gene Cahoe, Mark Ennis, Jim Main, Bill Del Marcinko, Artie Ed Romero. A lot of these people are missing in action now. But Ian Shines had been a member. Mike Tuz, Randy Reynaldo, Rich Morrissey. I mean, just Tim Kelly, and a lot of people you might have heard of. Mm-hmm. And Sam Gafford and Carl Gafford. They were brothers. Carl Gafford started the group. And Chuck Bunker had been a member at that time, and on and on and on. So, I didn't really prep for this show, but I dragged out a bunch of old co-op zines. I thought, it might be interesting to bring these up. Sure. Yeah. Here's something else. This is not a co-op zine. No, Tim Corrigan published this.
Oh boy, I never saw that before.
This is the Diggers. I'll have to see if I have an extra copy around here. But the Diggers was a series that kind of like the Challengers of the Unknown, a bunch of archaeological students who found themselves in wild adventures involving trips to Egypt and stuff like that. And also space alien. Everything started to enter into this. I had written the scripts for 6 issues. The first issue was a direct market comic. It was an independent comic, and I guess sold a few thousand copies.
Really?
And then, did okay. I wrote the story. I wrote the script, and Tim illustrated it. But by the time of issue number 3, which this is, Tim had gone back. He kind of dropped out of the direct market stuff. There's his artwork, and this is a digest size comic.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't take the time to dig out the full size independent comic, but this was a lot of fun, and we did this together. Talk about a graphic novel. Yeah, it could have been a graphic novel. I had plans for this one. Tim and I both did.
What year was that, Steve?
1989.
What?
1989. 1989.
Oh, 1989. Wow.
Yeah, I didn't even realize it was that old. But that's what I'm reading here. It seemed like it wasn't that long ago, but it says so right here. Right, 1989. Time flies. And but as far as a graphic novel, we had ideas about putting all 6 issues together, but we never made it to 6 issues into a graphic novel format, or putting them all in one big zine. And but the first 3 issues came out, and something happened. Tim, he just went off in a different direction. In fact, I think at that time Tim actually dropped out of small press for a little while, and then he came back later. But I had written in the 6th issue. The 6th issue was this huge, epic, double-sized comic, and it was never. We never got there, and I've lost the script. The script is gone.
No kidding.
And I pulled out the stops in this one, and it had everything. It has, like I say, space aliens and
that'd be kind of fun. To do. I wouldn't mind doing something like that if you had the script.
Yeah,
I'd like to do something like that. That'd be a thought.
I don't know if I have the script for issues number 4 and 5, but that broke my heart because I put everything into that 6th issue, and it would have been quite epic,
But did you say 4 and 5 were never done either?
No.
It was only 3 issues.
There was 3 issues that were actually published. I had written all 6 issues.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have the scripts.
We ought to talk about that sometime. I wouldn't mind doing that.
Yeah, I would love to continue it. I'd love to finish it.
Yeah.
It'd be a great tribute to Tim.
Yeah.
And
I'll give him credit, of course, but it would be fun to do.
Absolutely. He would get great credit for it. He was he designed the look of the characters, but I created the characters.
I'm a great copier. I can copy stuff.
I do have the first 3 issues. Let's see what I want to talk about. I'm gonna have a couple more things. Hopefully. There was a small press group called the Small Press League back in the 1990s and stuff. Okay, I see here that Tim Kelly was a member. Will Dockery is a guy used to do a lot of stuff in small press. Andrew Roller was a member. Andrew Roller was a controversial figure. He was very blunt and critical of everybody in small press, and everybody pretty much hated him. He was around for a little while, and instead of just like criticizing a book or something, he was saying, "Well, this slime ball just published a pretty terrible comic." And he just offended everybody. He offended Ian Shires. Well, that was
this was a big boy to be offending.
Yeah, the Small Press League. This issue came out in 1993. This was their newsletter called Cross Currents.
Wow.
And one more. Pizzazz. Steve Shipley's Pizzazz. He created this co-op. He created this co-op in the 1990s, maybe late 1980s. But when I first tried to this, now this was interesting because Tim was a. Do I have the? Do I have their creed? But that when I first tried to join Pizzazz, even though Steve Shipley had been a friend of mine for many, many years, Steve Shipley and another guy who began Pizzazz. I'm not going to mention the other guy's name because I hate to say, well, this guy was a jerk. But Steve invited me to join Pizzazz when it first started. This co-op was around for several years, and the other guy nixed it because he'd seen a comment by me in the UFO newsletter where I said that I was against censorship and stuff like that. I mean, only in certain cases, I was against censorship overall. And the constitution of Pizzazz, we're mostly a Christian-dominated group, but no excessive bloodletting, no nudity, no swear words. I mean, it was kind of strict. Ken Leach was a member of Pizzazz. He did a lot of work for them.
Bloodletting, that's a tough one.
But this guy, this other guy, he nixed my membership. He said, "No, you said I saw where you said you were against censorship and blah blah blah," and so I didn't get in right away. Well, I was kind of ticked off, but that guy soon dropped out, and then Steve invited me again, and I ended up eventually becoming the chairman of the group. So that was Pizzazz.
Yeah, wow.
Larry Blake was a member. Here's Larry Blake.
Yep.
Their newsletter. And that group was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I wanted to mention there were other small press co-ops. There was the SPA, the Small Press Association. I remember the SPA way back then, but I just recently talked to Ian Shires, who was pretty much responsible for that group, instrumental in setting it up, and he said that he just told me that it went online, and there were over 300 issues of their newsletter, but it was an online newsletter.
Oh, it was online. Okay.
Yeah, but I know I used to have a couple of print copies, but that's small press history.
Yeah. Yeah, we wanted to just come on. Steve's going to be gone for a couple of weeks. We wanted to come on and kind of let you know that. And I may try and do a show in between. I don't know for sure. I would like to talk to Jason DeGroot. He has a major project that he's working on. I would kind of like to talk to him about it and promote it for him a little bit. So we'll see if he can get on or not. If he can, we'll have a show in between while Steve is gone. And if Steve returns ever,
I'll be back.
He'll be back
on September 23rd.
What? September
23rd? I return September 23rd. It's going to take me a couple of days to get over the jet lag, but
oh yeah, right. Okay.
So
we won't jump right into a show the first day.
That'll be a Monday. And I have a friend over there, but I'm not going to show you her picture because I don't want to, she's kind of private. So.
Well, yeah, and then somebody jump in there ahead of you, and you'd be going there for nothing. So yeah, don't show her a picture. Anyway, we wanted to do this, and he does have. We almost saw it. Almost.
She's darn pretty. I'll tell you that.
I bet.
So, but we're gonna see how that goes.
When you do go to the Philippines, be careful of the Japanese soldiers that don't know the war's over yet. They are still up in the hills, so watch where you go.
And Japanese mosquitoes. Japanese mosquitoes. One of the diseases they have that's carried by mosquitoes is Japanese encephalitis. So I was just vaccinated for that. I was vaccinated.
No, you don't want that.
So there's Japanese up in the hills.
So we're going to wrap this one up, and we'll see you in the next one. Either a few weeks or half a week, or who knows. Anyway, we'll say goodbye for now, and we shall return. See ya.
Adios.
Hi, and welcome to Talking Small Press Comics, episode 75, with me, and normally my co-host, Steve Keeter, but Steve is out of the country right now, so it's just me. But my special guest today is Jason DeGroot, and he has a project that we all need to know about. So I think it's an exciting project, and I think it's an important project. So Jason, let's just kind of get started, and you tell us about it, and I'll ask questions, and we'll go from there.
That sounds great. Well, thanks for having me again, Larned. It's my second time, and 75. That's a pretty big
number 75. This is a big one.
That's impressive.
Too bad Steve missed this one.
But... I know. Well, I'll try to fill his shoes.
Yeah, there you go.
I can't fill his mustache, but I'll try to fill his shoes.
I think he shaved it off, by the way.
He did. I saw a picture.
Yeah,
I'm always jealous of that mustache. It's a good one. Yeah. Actually, your beard and mustache are good too. So.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. No. Well, yeah. Thanks for having me back. So the project is called Shelter Dog.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote it last year when a dog showed up in our neighborhood named Penny. And this will make more sense with your part of the story that you wrote for this project in a second. She showed up in our neighborhood last summer, and we took her in, not planning on keeping her. She was like 4 months old and had a bunch of behavior issues, and I'd never wanted a puppy. Or a high energy dog or a bigger dog, and she was all of those things, and it was a very big. Last summer was a blur. Anyway, I wrote the story. It was actually kind of around the time when I had started working with Joseph Morris, who was doing a bunch of small press titles and kind of looking for like smaller, shorter stories. And he kind of like inspired me to start like writing again. Like I hadn't been writing comic books for a while. And so anyway, I wrote like this short story called Shelter Dog about this kid who yells, "I want a puppy." And then Shelter Dog shows up and starts is like, "Oh, I hear you want a puppy." And then he kind of talks about well, what would you do if the puppy chewed up your favorite comic book? And then he like chews up his favorite comic book. And then he's like, what would you do if the puppy pooped in your shoes? And then he pooped in his shoes.
Yeah.
So the point of the book of the story is just like puppies are cute and they're great.
The character is kind of a superhero type.
Yeah, I kind of the way he's kind of evolved. He's kind of like this combination of Santa Claus and the Cat in the Hat and Superman, maybe like the Lone Ranger a little bit. He's kind of like this magical, mischievous, kind character that he's got like he can do pretty much. He can pretty much do whatever, but he's there to help basically kids learn about the realities of owning a pet. He's very encouraging about kids owning pets, but he's also like, hey, this is, it's not just about playing fetch and wrestling with each other on the grass. There's like, it's a lot of work. And then as it progressed, so I wrote that short story. Initially, Terry Flippo, who did the artwork, and Terry Flippo, who is amazing and has been just an amazing cartoonist for decades.
Absolutely.
He had done the artwork and for Toasty Posty that we put out last August. And he did just such a great job, because the original Shelter Dog story was it was like a 2.5-page prose story, and the concept was it was going to be the same thing with Terry, where he was going to take the prose and kind of just adapt it, which just turned out so great with Toasty Posty, because it was this great like combination of comic book panel, but also like children's book. It was just this really nice amalgamation. And I was kind of hoping to do the same thing. Also, by the way, if my camera seems to be wobbly every once in a while, so we took Penny in last summer. We currently took in another stray dog about a month ago named Teddy. He is currently at my feet chasing his tail and bumping into the table. So it's been, yeah. Anyway, so anyway, Terry was ultimately not able to do it because he had other projects to do, understandably, because the guy's constantly working. But eventually, Terry Wood was attached to it, and that was amazing, because Terry, I'm such a huge fan of hers. I collected Wandering Star back in the 90s, and it's still one of my absolute favorite comic book series. So the fact that she's like agreed to work on it, she gave me kind of like a discounted rate, was just very generous with her time, and did a lot of extra stuff, including like we'll talk about this in a second, like the campaign, like extra like artwork that we can give out as.
Now, did she draw the original Shelter Dog?
Yeah, we worked together on it. Like the original, we workshopped it together. So she's a co-creator. That's why I say I'm co-creator of Shelter Dog, because I wrote the original story, but without her, it would not be what it is. We worked together on his look. He initially started out as like this 4-legged dog with a cape, and then it eventually morphed into kind of like a Robin Hood looking character. It's very unique looking, and that's all thanks to her. She also co-created Shelter Cat, because once we did, I'd written the story Too Many Pennies, which you ultimately illustrated and did a fantastic job on. And that story is kind of about the importance of getting your animal fixed because of pet overpopulation. Also, I'll stop for a second. One of the reasons that I'm so passionate about this is I actually used to work at an animal shelter back in the late 90s, early 2000s. I was a supervisor at an animal shelter in Minnesota, where I grew up. And that absolutely had a huge impact on me. We don't have to get into the nitty gritty, but it's a tough job. I had no idea like what the overpopulation issue was until I worked there. And it really hasn't gotten a whole lot better in the 20 some years since I've worked there. It's still an issue, like here in Austin, which is a super dog friendly place. It's still a huge issue. And so that's kind of what kind of sparked a lot of this, is not just Penny showing up in my neighborhood, but also having worked at an animal shelter. And I kind of wanted to I started thinking about like, what other stories could I tell that can be fun and funny, but also kind of talk a little bit about these issues. And so Too Many Pennies was about making sure you get your animal fixed because there's already too many and they just make more and more and more, and there's not enough homes for the ones that are currently out there. And then I was like, maybe I should I think if I can get one more story, this will be like a good, like kind of children's book along the lines of Toasty Posty, because that was also kind of like the main story was like more of a children's type story. And then there was a backup story that was more of like a comic book story. So then I wrote Shelter Cat, which introduced Shelter Cat, who also Terry did a fantastic job of illustrating him. And I'll show some pictures of him in just a second too.
Oh, good.
But then I wrote Shelter Cat.
I forgot to dig mine out. So.
Let me. Once I'm done talking all this stuff up, I'll start showing you some stuff. But yeah, so then I wrote Shelter Cat, and then John Muller, I was able to. He agreed to work on it, and he's an amazing cartoonist as well. Just
cartoonist,
amazing. And so then it slowly, I'm like, I really want to do this project. I feel really strongly about it, and there's a couple avenues I tried exploring, and it just fell through. So I'm like, I'm going to just try funding it myself, which is scary because it was a big. It's the for the crowdfunding, the goal is $2,500, which covers cost of compensating y'all as artists, which was super. That
was really something. That was
super important, and I'm glad. Yeah. So that was super important. But then just to cover like printing costs for like a fairly short print run, and then I got Alan Freeman, another unbelievable man. I know, so lucky that I've got like all these amazing artists on this, and so he contributed 12 illustrations for a coloring book. That's one of the kind of reward levels.
Promotions on the Kickstarter.
Just amazing. Yeah, basically, I totally copied this from Terry Flippo. He put together a coloring book last year for Toasty Posty, and he's done this a few times for a few publications where he basically has like quotes from different people, and then he has like an illustration around that quote. And I love that. So basically with Alan, I just found several quotes about dogs and cats, and I just sent him the quotes, and I'm like, whatever you want to do with this, whatever illustration you want to do. And he just did amazing job. So everybody was amazing. So anyway, we got that all together, and then launched on, I think, the 5th of August on Fund My Comic, which I learned about that website from Floyd Sumner, who funded his Swell Comics #1 a couple months ago, and he was very successful with it. And so I tried this one. The big draw for me for this one is, unlike Kickstarter, which is all or nothing. Like if you don't hit your goal, you don't get the money.
Oh, okay.
But with Fund My Comic, they've got a level where it's called Keep It All. So basically, once someone donates to it, you get the money like within like 3 days. And so because I knew it was going to happen no matter what, I was like, let's just do this. And that way I was able to get y'all compensated even before the campaign ended, which I was super excited. Like so that was great. And I think we're at 76% funded now. Like, wow. So I'm like, even if we don't hit our goal at this point, y'all got compensated, which was super important. I think I'll be able to swing, public printing costs for it's not going to be too, it shouldn't, I'll be able to handle that. My big thing is I didn't want to get myself into like a mountain of debt, because that happened.
Yeah, you sure don't want to do that.
Years ago, I thought I was going to be the next big thing. And I was going to start my own comic book company. And I had really no business plan and no business sense. And I got into like a huge amount of debt, like just publishing comic books.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I was very cautious and making sure that I didn't.
Let me understand now, the books that you print, how are those how's that going to work? You're going to eventually donate to what? Somehow to take care of these dogs.
So this is what I'm super excited about. I mean, I'm excited about all of it, but so this initial print run is really just to get the initial book done.
Okay.
So like the Fund My Comic is like a very specific edition for just the supporters of this particular book. And so it's going to have its own cover that Terry did. Terry actually did a separate cover for a different version that's going to go up on Amazon as just like a direct publishing, like where you can just order it. But my long-term vision that's kind of evolved as this project has evolved is what I'm planning on doing is working with individual shelters, and they can use the book however they want to use it for fundraising, education, outreach, whatever. And I've been in talks with, I think, 3 or 4 shelters now to kind of get an idea. You know, what do you think of this book? Do you think you could use it for stuff? And I've had really great conversations with them. Just to give you a general idea of what they're doing with it so far. There's Williamson County Regional Animal Shelter here in Texas. It's in the next county over. They're going to use the probably just the main story, and basically what they're going to do is just get the files and print it on their own. And then they're going to just make their own copies, and then they're going to hand those out to kids when kids do tours of the animal shelter. And so it's just going to be kind of like an educational piece for them. And then I'm talking to the Animal Humane Society in Minnesota, and they've got this amazing program called Rescue Readers, where kids volunteer.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. So kids, they volunteer by like sitting at the shelter and just reading books to dogs and cats.
It's amazing.
It's so great. It's such a cool program.
I saw a picture. I mean, they're sitting right next to the cage.
Yeah.
And they're reading to the dog, and the dog is, looking at them.
Yeah. And it was talking about like what I was reading up on it after they they told me about it. And the idea is, just having someone there talking to them has a calming effect. Because I can tell you, having worked at a shelter for several years, one of the big issues with dogs in particular is, especially dogs that were companion, pets, we used to call it getting kennel crazy, because they don't get a lot of like interaction with people, and they just start becoming more and more stressed. And so this program is a way for them to get like interaction, and kind of like a calming effect for especially dogs that can get like super stressed. So what they're going to do, they're going to get some copies of the book. So I'm just going to print some additional copies for them of this particular edition. And then potentially what we might do, and I'm excited about this and I hope it happens. We'll see what happens, but we might print out an edition specifically for their program called like a Rescue Readers edition that will have like a cover specifically for their shelter. And I'm going to start working on a script that kind of talks about like the importance of reading to animals. So my long-term vision, and we'll see if it happens, would be very cool, but what I'm hoping to do is work with all these individual shelters, and basically I will tailor the book to what works the best for them. And so theoretically, each shelter could have like a shelter dog book that has a cover that's specifically for their like artwork, like it's its own artwork. And one of the things I'm hoping to potentially do is actually work with artists that live in that area. So like it would be like a local artist doing like the illustrations. And I'm going to hopefully continue to like write stories and get them produced. So basically a shelter could go to this menu of stories and be like, okay, I want this story and this story. And then we'll either put together a file for them to publish or potentially print the book out for them and send it to them. And so, and potentially even they could be like, well, this is a specific issue we have in our region. Like it's a very kind of like region specific issue. I could potentially write a story about that and get it illustrated, and then, make it very tailored to their, their needs.
So, that'd be great.
It'd be so good. Would be, I'm so excited because it's this great, like combination of getting to be creative, and putting together producing a book, which we've talked about the last time I was on here about the Sunday Jam. I love just coordinating and working with artists and just putting stuff together. So it's this great combination of just doing this thing that I love, but also being able to do it and give back and maybe have some kind of an impact and help in some small way.
Now, if people, your fund is still open. Right?
Yeah, it's gonna be done a week from Monday. I think this the 30th will be the date.
Okay, so if somebody wants to donate, do you have the how do you do that? Email or what? How do you do that?
Yeah, let's see. I'll share the website with you.
Okay.
In just a second. Yeah, I'm gonna share my screen. There we go. So can you see that?
Oh yeah. Let me add that to the stage.
Oh yeah. Thanks.
There it is. Okay.
Yeah, so this is the site. So this is fundmycomic.com.
Okay.
And then /shelterdog.
I see. Okay, great.
Yeah. So since we're here, let's take a quick tour. So this is artwork from the cover. This is Terry Wood.
That's Terry Wood's original artwork. Yeah.
Yep, original artwork from Terry. And then this is some artwork from Terry. This is you. That's from your artwork. This is some artwork from John. This is some artwork from Alan. And then these are some examples of some of the extra stuff. Like there's going to be a postcard. This is original artwork that Terry did for the postcard. This is the cover for the coloring book that Alan did.
Yeah.
And then Terry did a bunch of extra sketches that she just basically donated for this campaign. So the other nice thing is you can pledge as little as $1 and you'll get the main Shelter Dog story, like just a PDF of it. So people don't even have to. I really believe with any kind of crowdfunding for comic books that people should be able to get something for even like $1. Because I think because the thing is you're competing with all these with everybody's wallets.
Even a parent with little kids can say, "Oh, we're going to give $1," and then you can, it's for kids basically,
Yeah, exactly. And so for $4, you could get the whole thing, and basically, because it's basically what happens is as soon as someone donates, like $4 or more, I immediately email them a PDF of the book, so you get it like immediately. Because it's all done. Everything's finished. The art is all done. Joe Bagdon, who's amazing, amazing small press publisher. He's been doing all the pre-press stuff for me, and he's already put the book together. So we're basically just at this point, we're just waiting for the campaign to end to figure out how many copies we actually need to print. So I'm already sending the book out to people to read if they want to read it before it comes out in print. And I've been able to send it to the shelters for them to kind of actually look at it and see the content. And very luckily, so far been getting like really positive feedback. Folks have definitely said that some of the staff that have read it have cried, which is, I mean, I don't want to make people cry, but I'm glad like it had like an emotional impact on them. So that's a good sign. And I would say that's a lot of because of Terry. Like, I mean, the story's great. I'll toot my own horn. I think the story's good, but without Terry's artwork, it would definitely not be as impactful as it is. Her facial expressions that she does on the dog and the characters, amazing. Yeah, so good. But yeah, just to show you real quick, like what the awards are. So $5, you get the PDF plus the postcard. $10, you get the postcard and the coloring book. $15, you get both formats of the book. $20, book and postcard. $25, everything. So coloring book, postcard, and then we've got like a bunch of original art. Luckily, I'm really excited. Some folks have already like gotten some of these
some of the originals pieces. They bought some of the originals already.
Yeah. So there's definitely several up for grabs yet.
Wow.
I'm still kind of tempted. I got my eye on this one,
Oh, yeah.
for the original
Yeah.
artwork. I mean, not
That would
stopping
be a
anybody
great
from
one to
getting it
have for you.
if they want it, but I'm imagining if no one actually gets this one might end up hanging on my wall.
Yeah.
So because it's
Yeah.
it's
With
really
all
good.
your work, that would be nice to have.
Yeah.
That. Yeah.
But yeah. But yeah, and if you want, I can show you like some of the artwork too, like
Sure.
from some of
Yeah.
the pages. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're all about. Yeah.
Yeah, give me
Let's
just
see
a
it, yeah.
second here. I'll stop that, and then let's see. All right. Oh, I wonder. Oh, I might not be able to. Oh, here we go. There we go. So this is my kind of folder with all the stuff that's going on with Shelter Dog.
Wow.
So let's see. Yeah, just to kind of, this was. Oh, what is it doing? Sorry, it's taking a second here. Oh, Lord, sorry.
That's all right. I don't know how to do this stuff either. This kind of stuff.
Technical detail, technical issues.
Yeah, I don't know.
Did it? Oh, did the picture come up? No, I don't think of the actual picture.
Yeah, it's up.
Hold on. Okay.
I mean, not
Yeah.
no, just the whole folder is up. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'll just do it this way.
Okay. Oh, just zoom in on it.
Zoom in on it a little bit. Or let me try something else here real quick.
Okay.
Thanks for your patience, viewers. Appreciate it.
I have a little dog, so I can appreciate all this stuff. I got a little dog, Zoe.
There we go. Did that one come up for you?
Let me get it into
that picture of Shelter Dog.
There it is. Yeah, that's a sketch, right?
So yeah, so that was one of like the kind of like one of the mediums, kind of like halfway through the process. So he'd originally been on like 4 legs, and then I was like, oh, I think I kind of want him to be like more anthropomorphic, and then we started out with kind of like that, you know, classic Superman, and then let me see, we'll get to. There we go. I'll open this one up and then show this one.
You want me to take that off? Oh,
yeah, and then I'll share this one with you real quick. And I'll just do one more after this one. So this is what he ended up looking like.
Yeah.
She kind of came up with that whole Robin Hood kind of aspect, and then we popped a mask on him, and I was like, "That's it. That's Shelter Dog."
There you go.
That's one of my favorite parts of like collaborating with people is like you get this kind of like general idea in your head, and then you kind of work back and forth, and then suddenly here it is, like right in front of you.
Just what you pictured, you know.
Yeah. And I'll show you one more.
Okay.
Because I'll show you Shelter Cat.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen Shelter Cat.
Yeah. And I'll tell you a little bit about how Shelter Cat came to be too, like his look.
Oh, cool.
So there's Shelter Cat. This is actually John. I think John Muller did actually this.
Okay.
Yeah, version of it. But so yeah, this is Shelter Cat.
It's a fucking kitty.
I wasn't. So I think the original idea I had was going to be kind of similar to Shelter Dog in terms of like, you know, kind of like that superhero costume. But then as I was kind of working on the script for it,
Mm-hmm.
he just kind of turned into like this surly, just doesn't really care about anything. I mean, he's got a heart of gold underneath, but he's
Yeah.
kind of like, he's a cat. He's like, I'm
Kind of
gonna
a
do what
tough
I'm gonna
guy.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so what the whole trucking kitty thing came from actually when I worked at the shelter years ago. One of this guy adopted this cat and he named it TK for trucking kitty because it was going to be with him in his truck.
Yeah.
Like and he came back a few times, like just stopped in to like visit and brought TK in with him to say hi. But yeah, I was like, yeah, I like that. Because sorry, going off on a tangent. One of the things that we would do when I worked at the shelter is folks had to fill out like this questionnaire when they were going to adopt a cat or a dog or whatever. And so with TK, the guy who adopted TK, he was like filling it out. And then one of the things it asks is like, where is this, going to live? Because if someone rented, for example, we would have to call the landlord first to make sure it was okay to have it, so that people wouldn't end up just bringing it back because they weren't supposed to have a pet in the first place. But yeah, he's like, it would have like, a home, apartment, and he kind of crossed both of them out and just said semi truck.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a great cat, and TK lived a great life. And now he's inspired a story, and hopefully I'll be doing more with him as well. And John again did an amazing job. We can
Look, here's a little thing I just noticed that on the T-shirt is a paw print.
Yeah.
Of the cat, and also on Shelter Dog, that's on his chest. That paw print is on his chest.
Yeah, I thought that was a nice touch. I don't even know who came up with that originally. I think it might have been Terry. Like
it probably was, but he tied it in. Very clever. Very good.
Yeah. I'll show you a few maybe pages from each of the books if you want to kind of, folks can kind of get an idea of what it looks like. Let's see, so many great pages to choose from. Here, I'll do my sorry. I get very amused with myself. So here's a page from the main story. This is when Shelter Dog poops in Parker's shoes.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
Yeah, well, and I was very curious what Terry was going to do with it, because in the book I just say he poops in her shoes. He's like, and Shelter Dog pooped in Parker's coolest shoes, so all the text in there is all pulled from the prose. Like she literally, all the text is from the prose story I wrote. So she literally just copy and pasted, like there's no words that were left out from the story I wrote. But yeah, I was like, I'm very curious. Like, is she going to actually show him pooping in the shoes? Is she going to?
My dog has not pooped in my shoes yet. So far,
what's his name again? What's your dog's name again?
Zoe.
That's right,
Mm-hmm.
Zoe.
Yeah.
How old is she?
She's about 4.
Oh, she's such a sweetie. Mm-hmm. How long have you had her?
She's a mini doodle, a mini golden doodle, little dog.
Yeah.
Great dog.
Well, while we're talking about dogs, I'll show you a picture of Teddy and Penny.
Oh yeah, the one that started it all.
Yeah, exactly. And the one who I'm currently like raising funds. Basically, any extra funds that come up over and above what we make is going to go towards Teddy's vet stuff, because he's cost over $1,000 already between he's getting fixed next Tuesday. He doesn't know that yet, but he's had to get his vaccinations and blood work and all this stuff. Anyway, so the dog on the left here, the brown one, that's Penny in the pink harness. That's Penny. So she's the one who showed up last summer and was a nightmare. The main issue, I mean, she was a puppy, but she had like really bad play biting. Like she would not stop. I've never seen anything like it. And so we were not planning on keeping her, but part of the issue, so in Austin, pet overpopulation is real bad, and they actually don't take stray dogs in because the shelters are just so overflowing. So, and I didn't know that at the time, because when I moved to Austin, I kind of didn't want to get involved in animal welfare again, because the shelter that I worked at just kind of like emotionally drained me.
Yeah.
So I kind of had kept out of it. And then, you know, she was running loose with another dog last summer, and this was like in July, when the temperatures were like 106, 107 every day, and the heat index was like 110. And I was like, well, they can't be out in that. So I took them in, assuming that the city would take them, and they did not. So we were able to place the other dog that was running with her. We named him Bruce. He's on a 15-acre farm in Waco. But because I worked at a shelter and she had these really bad like play biting issues, I was like, we got to get this taken care of before we even try to get her into a shelter, because she's just going to rotate in and out, because she's super cute. So people are going to want her, but then they're going to get her home and they're not going to want to deal with it. So by the time we got her in a halfway decent place, we ended up just keeping her. So, and she's very sweet now. She's still crazy. We go to the dog park twice a day. We haven't for the last month because Teddy got like a cough. He got like a cold basically. So he's been today was his last day of antibiotics. So we haven't been able to go. So luckily though, they both play together like really well. So they've been keeping each other, because otherwise, if she doesn't go to the dog park, she's got so much energy. She is just a nightmare. But anyway, so that's Penny, and then the dog with the yellow harness that says "Adopt Me" on it, that is Teddy. And he's about a year, we're guessing. He was found near the dog park where I go to, and the girl who found him was she's like a college student, and it was like she was taking her dog out at like 2:30 in the morning to go to the bathroom, and then Teddy was running loose, and she checked him for a microchip. He didn't have a collar, anything. And so I'm guessing he was dumped, and then she showed up at the dog park at like 7 a.m. and she was exhausted, and she was just asking people if they could take him, because she's like, I can't, I already have a dog, I can't have another one in my apartment, and so I come strolling in with Penny, and I'm like, all right,
here we go.
Here we go. Luckily,
he's great. Good dog?
He's a very good dog. He's really smart. The main issue is he's super affectionate, like almost aggressively affectionate. And I think he was around cats, because he like rubs up against you like a cat. He'll just like rub up against your legs. And he gets very like, he's actually getting much better, but especially when we first had him, he like whined and barked if you weren't in the room, even if you were like in a different part of the room and he couldn't see you. And so I feel like he might have gotten dumped because maybe he was like barking too much or something when people weren't home. But he's great. I mean, we still are looking for a home, but we've had him over a month now. And he's really nice, but if I don't find a home for him, my wife's probably just going to keep him and kick me out. So
that's what I was thinking. Send you to the shelter.
She wasn't exactly happy when I called her and was like, hey, there's a stray dog at the park, and I think I'm going to be bringing him home. And she loves him, but she's like, 2 teenage dogs in the house is a lot.
And that's enough for me. She's a great dog. She never has touched the furniture or anything like that. She doesn't bark much. Only thing about Zoe is she would eat herself to death if you let her.
Oh, yeah.
Never stop.
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
Teddy does this weird thing that he chases his tail and then like grabs it and just like chews on it. So you kind of have to. So anyway, so I could talk about dogs all day too. But here, I'll show you a few more pieces of artwork.
Okay.
This one is yours.
Oh.
So this is from Too Many Pennies. And this is where Shelter Dog imagines, he's like, let's imagine that Penny's the size of a penny. And then starts talking about, okay, now Penny's going to have 8 more pennies. And now those pennies are going to have more pennies.
Yeah.
So it's just.
And Jason would say, hey, you got to draw more little dogs. You got to draw more little dogs.
No.
I can't draw any more little dogs. It won't fit.
I know. That's the the luxury of being a writer. It's like, draw like 1,000 dogs.
I told him
it was easy to write.
It look like a blob.
It only took me a second to write it. I don't know what the problem is. So you did a fantastic job. Like, it really captured like the fun of it, because I don't want it to be preachy. I want it to be still a fun story. And you just did a great job of just capturing it, and just a great rendition of Shelter Dog too. Again, I'll be saying this multiple times yet, but I've been very fortunate with everybody.
It sounds like you really got a great crew.
Oh man, yeah,
really.
And that's the thing I was talking about that with like in the campaign, kind of in my explanation of the campaign. Y'all are so nice. Like, you're not just talented. Everybody's just like kind people.
I have never met anybody in small press that wasn't.
Yeah,
nice.
Right.
I've been to a couple conventions, never met the people before, and they treat you like they've known you their whole life.
Yeah, just very kind and generous, and just amazing. So it's just the whole process has been fantastic. The only stressful part was this Teddy showed up right in the middle of the campaign. So I was like trying to juggle, celebrating, I've got this campaign launched, and then going to vet visits, and then he got sick, and so anyway, it worked out because I kind of like folded it into the updates in the campaign. I was like, besides just kind of talking about, hey, we're up to like 50% or 60%, then I would also do updates on, Teddy got his first set of vaccinations today, or all that. So it seemed appropriate that I'm doing a book about Shelter Dog to help pets, and I took in a pet at the same time. So it's almost seems like a marketing gimmick.
You're doing what you're
Yeah. So anyway, so this is one of the pages from Shelter Cat by John, and this is where Shelter Cat shows up, and he's like, because the premise is this kid finds a cat on the street, and he's never had a cat, and he's like, I don't know if I should take it home. And Shelter Cat shows up, and he's like, well, I'm going to check your house out and see if this is going to be appropriate. And then he proceeds to do a bunch of horrible things that cats do, like throwing up and scratching on all the furniture and all that stuff. So again, a lot of these books or these stories are all about like the realities of owning a pet. Besides the love and cuddles, there's also poop and hairballs. So you gotta be realistic about it. And then I'll share a page from the coloring book.
We didn't see the page from John, the cat. You didn't show it. Didn't.
Did I not show it?
No, you didn't do it. Didn't do it.
Oh God, I'm so sorry. Hold on. Sorry, everybody.
I wanted to see that. Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me. Here we go. Oh boy. I'm sure. Yeah, you were like, "Why is he talking about?"
Yeah.
Hold on. Okay. Did that show up?
Yep. There it is. Okay.
There we go.
Oh, neat.
This is the page. Shelter Cat's at his house.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, this is a nice couch." And he's basically like looking around the house and kind of like basically causing complete havoc.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, again, John did an amazing job.
Wow.
Man, he's so good. When he agreed to do it, I was just because I had seen I kind of first learned about him because I saw some of his covers to T-Frags.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, who do they get to do these covers? These are this looks like something like Marvel would put out. Like, these are amazing. This is amazing art.
He's definitely on that level.
Oh yeah, he could absolutely be doing this. Yeah, for sure. All right, so now we'll look at coloring book. Yeah, let's see.
Okay.
There's so many to choose from. He did such a great job. We'll do this one just because I just love the picture that he did on this one. There we go. Isn't that so good?
That is very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just sent him that quote. That's all he had to go off of.
Yeah.
And this is what he comes up with. And he did that 12 times. Like 12 came up with. Yeah, I'll do one more just because.
Okay.
Yeah, just so good.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'll do this one. This is the Groucho Marx quote. Let's see. Yeah, just like he's like, any suggestions? I'm like, whatever you come up with is going to be great, and it was. So
it says, outside of a dog, a book is man's best friend. Inside of a dog, it's too dark to read.
That's one of my favorite quotes. So good. Oh, Groucho Marx is amazing. Anyway, so that's some of the artwork that your viewers, if you are kind enough, and I have a feeling some of your viewers might have already contributed, because several small press folks have already been super generous already and contributed. But
thanks for coming on and doing this.
Yeah, thanks for letting me just literally talk for 45 minutes.
Well, I didn't know all the details myself, even though I contributed. I didn't know some of the details. So that's great.
And I just finished.
Everybody would be.
Yeah, I just wrote a script.
People like dogs, whether they have a dog or not.
Absolutely. You know? I just finished a script called "Time for Shelter Dog." So I'm gonna, once I get some funding so I can pay the artist and find an artist to work on that one. Hint, hint. So that one's about. So I don't know if you've heard of this. There's this kind of rule that I hadn't heard about when I worked at the animal shelter at the time. But there's this thing called the 3-3-3 rule for when you're introducing a new dog, in particular, into your home. So it's kind of like 3 days for them to just kind of be at least partially comfortable. So you kind of just let them, if they're hiding under a bed for 3 days, that's okay. They just need to understand that they're getting, that they just need their time to adjust. And then it's 3 weeks where you start kind of getting them into a routine, and start working on obedience. And then it's going to be 3 months before they're this is my home. I am part of the pack.
So you got to invest some time.
Exactly. So I while I was kind of looking up shelters to reach out to, several of them had articles about this 3-3-3 rule, which is fantastic, because I think a lot of people just assume you take a dog, plunk it in your house, and then it's in the house and everything's great. But it takes time. Every dog's different. So I wrote a story called Time for Shelter Dog, which is kind of a time travel story where a kid's this dog's just sitting under a chair, and Shelter Dog shows up and he's like, well, let's go forward in the future and take a look and see where everything's at. And kind of as they keep time traveling, they see it's gotten slowly better. And then at the end, he gets lost in time, and they end up going to prehistoric times where a guy's walking a dinosaur, and just all this other stuff happens as well. Because
cool.
Yeah, and then I'm the next story I want to write will be about the reading program. And I think long term, what I'm thinking I'm going to do, and then I'll shut up because I know we need to wrap up. But I'm going to hopefully just try thinking about other stories I can write, so that I'm going to have a process in place where I can like reach out to a shelter. They can come to a website, and basically I'll give them a link to the site, and it'll again just be a menu of like of finished stories.
This is
read
going to be ongoing.
I'm hoping so.
You're not really ending it at any time. You're still going to be working and still kind of doing it, right?
I'm hoping so. Yeah. I mean, if ultimately, shelters ultimately are like, I just don't get a lot of interest, we'll just, we'll say, hey, this was fun and let it go. But I have big dreams, so I'm going to keep pursuing them and seeing what happens.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Good.
And I think it'll be, Anyway, thank you so much, Larned. I always love talking to you.
Came on. That was great.
Yeah.
So, we're going to wrap it up here. Okay. I enjoyed it. I hope you did. And,
I hope everybody. Thanks for bearing with my lack of technical prowess, y'all. But
no, not a problem, really.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't really know how to do what you did. So anyway, all right. Thanks for coming on, and
and thanks everybody in advance for supporting the book. Hint, wink. Hint.
All right. As far as Small Press Comics, we will be back shortly. Steve will be back in the country, and we've got a number of books to take a look at, so we will be back very shortly.
Awesome.
Everybody have a great day.
Bye.